Mute off.
Good morning. We'll call the meeting to order. Council is conducting this meeting in person and via conference call in accordance with the Municipal Government Act, Section 199. Council chambers is now open for public attendance in person. However, councillors and members of the public may still join meetings remotely using our current teleconference process. If you've submitted a comment request, the chair will call on you at the appropriate time. The chair may also ask for comments and concerns from the public relating to a particular topic. And at this time, phone lines will be unmuted. If you would like to speak, please state your name. We ask that only one member of the public speak at a time. All persons will be allotted 10 minutes to speak as per our procedural bylaw. We ask that if the meeting recesses, that any callers hang up and call back in as the meeting reconvenes. This helps with call quality. Please note, this meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded to our website and/or social media. To eliminate background noise, please mute your phone during the meeting. And I'll also just ask all attendees in the meeting to mute our phones and any devices as well, just to reduce disruptions to the meeting. Everyone has a right to be present at council meetings and council committee meetings. Any attendees that are considered disruptive to the progression of this meeting may be removed at the discretion of the chair, as per the Municipal Government Act, Section 198. We thank you for your cooperation and understanding. We have an agenda before us. Does anybody have any additions or changes?
Good morning, Reeve Link. Brian from administration. There's two items that administration is proposing to add to the agenda today. The first one being the Hazard Seed Cleaning Plant grand reopening invitation. We're proposing to add that to item, number 3.7.4. And then a second piece of correspondence that we received after the publishing of the agenda, correspondence from the Village of Rockford and the Village of Standard, and that was dated June 2nd, 2002. And those were all sent to all of council at 2:17 yesterday. Thank you.
Thank you, CAO Henderson. I have one other just discussion point for council. We could put it under (2.21). And it was just a discussion around perhaps a memorial display for CAO of WFCSS Lynn Walker. I thought it might be nice to do sort of a tribute in the entranceway of the county building, if the board is already working on something or planning something, then we don't have to discuss it at council. I don't want to overstep into the board's purview, but I just thought because of the extensive service Lynn has provided for the region through the years that it might be nice and appropriate to honor that.
I think they had sort of got something in their office sort of set up. There's a plaque and a piece of her artwork, but maybe they would appreciate having it in the front. We could talk to them about it.
Okay. Maybe we'll add it then and we could just have a brief, it doesn't have to be long, but just a brief discussion. And if it's appropriate, we can totally take it back to the board and just collaborate as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll put that under 2.21. Any other additions or changes?
I'll move the agenda as amended.
Councillor Laprise has moved. Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. We have the minutes from the May 17th regular council meeting. Any errors or omissions? If not, a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes.
Councillor Eichert has moved to approve. Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. We'll move to 2.11, Motor Transport Bylaw Schedule Amendment. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of Council. Chris Perman, Senior Peace Officer. Just before I present this bylaw, I'm just wondering if I could take a moment of your time to introduce our new peace officer who was just recently hired. This is Stephen Benoit. Steve joins us after serving 11 years as a peace officer with the city of Airdrie. And I'm very happy that we were able to entice him and bring him on board over here. So he'll be working alongside of us for the next little while till he gets his appointment. And then we will, once he gets his appointment, he'll be out on his own. So I thank you for indulging me that moment. So I am here this morning to present Bylaw 2022-15, which is the Motor Transport Bylaw Schedule Amendment Bylaw. The purpose behind this bylaw is that Wheatland County has an agreement with the province of Alberta for issuance of commercial permits under the Transportation Routing and Vehicle Information System multi-jurisdictional, also known as the Travis MJ. So anytime a heavy vehicle, drilling rigs, service rigs, anything requires a provincial permit needs to travel on local roads, they apply for this permit through Travis, and we have a third-party contractor that we use to issue these permits on our behalf. Part of the agreement allows for the county to charge a fee for the use of our roads. So currently the fee is noted within the schedule of the motor transport bylaw. After discussions with senior leadership and to make sure things were consistent, it was requested that we remove the actual fee amount from the schedule of the bylaw and have it placed into the master fees bylaw, which will be presented later on this morning, and just the schedule of the motor transport bylaw be amended to just reflect that the fee will be reflected in the motor transport bylaw rather than in there as amended from time to time. Currently, too, we are asking for an increase in this fee, which will be requested in the motor transport bylaw, and or in the master fees bylaw, sorry. And the reasoning behind this is the province has recommended, as well as our contractor has recommended, we increase a fee to $25. It hasn't been raised in quite a long time, so therefore it is a reasonable request. The program is supposed to be revenue neutral, so the county does not lose anything out of it, and if we raise the fee from $20 to $25, it will allow us to continue to be revenue neutral. And that's my presentation. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. Any questions?
Sorry, just curious. So the permit fee, I understand what it's for, and I get it, but what does that money actually do? Like, it doesn't stop someone from using the roads. It doesn't go back to fixing the roads. Like, it's just that, to me, because I'm in the industry and I look at it and I go, okay, I don't mind paying for a fee. What does it actually return? What's your return on that? As a business owner, it's just a cash grab.
I would say that the fees coming back collected cover, especially with the large moves, road inspections, because we will have road inspections. It brings back to cover some of the cost of that. It's some administration costs for the issuances of the permits and so on and so forth. You are correct, it doesn't negate or cover the cost of repair or anything like that, but it does help towards going to some of it, and it also does tend to make the industry more responsible, knowing that they're paying a lot of money for this, as well as if they're caught in violation of it, it can cost them more in fines.
Thank you.
Is this consistent with what other municipalities are doing by moving this around? Is this something that's unique to Wheatland County?
No, sir. I believe there are at least 40 municipalities who are involved in the same program. There may be more. So we are consistent, and the recommendation has been made to all municipalities to increase this fee to $25.
And to change the structure as well as consistent.
Yeah, I believe so. Yes, the structure is quasi left up to the municipality. How it just has to be reflected in a bylaw.
Any other questions? Council's wishes.
I'll move first, that council provide first reading of bylaw 2022-15 motor transport bylaw schedule amendment, being a bylaw that amends schedule B of bylaw 2019-15.
Questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried.
I'll move that council provide second reading of bylaw 2022-15.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried.
I'll move that permission be granted to hold third and final reading of bylaw 2022-15.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried unanimously.
Move that council provide third and final reading of bylaw 2022-15.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you for bringing that forward.
Thank you for your time this morning.
We'll move to 2.12, bylaw 2022-16, master schedule of fees.
Good morning, council. Tracy from administration. I'm here to present the master schedule of fees bylaw 2022-16. In the future and on an annual basis, administration will review the master schedule of fees prior to the budget process, which starts internally in June. The last time that the schedule was approved by council was October 5th, 2021. You'll find the changes to the schedule on page 21 and 22 of your agenda. And there's one change that I would like to mention, and it's on the last line of page 22. And it was mentioned in the last presentation that the fee will change from $20 to $25 on September 1st of 22. And I have staff here to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions?
I had a question regarding the covered deck versus uncovered deck. So if you're paying an extra fee for your covered deck, do you get more for that? Do you get more, I don't know, specs about how to build it or?
Through the reeve to council, it's part of, they have to apply for both a development permit and a building permit. And a covered deck is a little different. They don't actually, for some of the deck, the requirements not quite the same based on the height of the deck before they go to development permit, but as soon as you cover it and enclose it, it changes some of the bylaw things that we review. Because they just don't cover it, they actually enclose with walls and
Okay, so you're not just talking about if it has a roof over it.
yeah, it's usually they do 2 to 3 enclosed sides to prevent wind. Sometimes they get quite elaborate.
I see what you're saying, yes, that then it's more like an accessory building almost that's attached to your house, yeah.
It's almost like another enclosed structure, yeah.
I got it, thank you.
Any other questions? I just have a question for council consideration. With the backyard beehives, administration is recommending $75. The backyard hens, administration is recommending $250. It's kind of in the bottom right-hand box on page 21. I was just wondering if we're comfortable with that. Personally, I would like to see a lower fee for the backyard hens. I don't want it to be a deterrent for people to be in compliance, which also, of course, comes along with that educational material that we had previously discussed. And I'm just concerned that that fee might be prohibitive or deter people from being compliant, which could cause enforcement challenges, which could end up costing potentially capacity and staff time, that type of thing.
I agree as well that if it's too expensive, people will just go around it.
I recognize we want to be like cost recovery and that there is administrative time and capacity that will be utilized. I know we always streamline those processes as much as possible, and recognizing that likely there will be more time, particularly on the first ones, but hopefully as we see those, if we can streamline the processes. But I don't know what council's thoughts are. I kind of had maybe $100 in my head or something like that, but open to,
through the read to council, perhaps accessory buildings are at 150. And because the coop is a structure that would look at setbacks from the neighboring structure, something similar to the accessory building fee.
I agree with that.
Yeah, I think there's some good rationale for that, for sure. I'm open, I just wanted to raise it for a discussion point. Councillor Lawerson?
Just another kind of same question I asked Chris, is this fee, I'm sure you just didn't pull it out of your head, is it consistent with other areas?
No, that's correct. We do a review of other municipalities. We looked at what would be involved with it because we did look at a manure plan too. And so there was a little more work involved. And then circulation for allowing adjacent neighbors that might be impacted by the chicken coop, so that it was a little more work than our standard accessory building that doesn't have that circulation area.
That's kind of what I thought. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just trying to, I think that even at 100 and a quarter or whatever is probably a little bit too much. I mean, we have fees for licensing dogs and all this kind of stuff, and I'm not sure how many people even in this room have all their dogs are all licensed. If we make this fee too onerous, then I believe that people are just going to go ahead and have backyard hens and wait for the complaints to come through. I'd be far better with probably like $75 and sort of a one-time thing, and I just worry about at 250. It's way too onerous. No one's going to bother with that. Because if there's, like you can keep chickens and not, if you don't have roosters, you can keep chickens and no one, especially in a hamlet like say Cheadle where you've got an acre and a half, no one's even going to know you've got them. So I would recommend that I'd be more comfortable with it if we're going to put a fee on it to be like at $75 because that's me.
Is that a motion?
I'll move it that we put the fee at $75.
So you're moving an amendment to the proposed,
Yes, I'm moving.
or are you moving the entire fee schedule with an amendment?
I think I'll move the entire fee schedule with the amendment that backyard chickens be $75 as opposed to $250. Can I do that?
Yeah, just a question to administration. I don't want to box us into trouble. Should we vote on an amendment first, and then we could vote on the entire fee schedule once we set the hen?
I guess you could do either way. So what I'd probably do is I'd probably move, if council's okay with the amendment, I'd just move it just entirely with that first amendment. Because I guess the way, if you were going to do a public hearing, you'd do the first reading and then you'd hear the public hearing and then you make amendments after that. Because this one doesn't have a public hearing, if you already know the amendment, you might as well make the amendment now. Yeah, that would just be my thought process anyways.
But if we don't agree, then we'll vote down the whole thing.
No. So if you make an amendment, if you vote on the bylaw 2022-16 with an amendment and that fails, then the bylaw can be voted on again with either another amendment or just as presented.
That was my only concern, is just I don't want to lose the other proposed changes. So we have a motion on the floor to approve the amended fee schedule with the amendment that administration pointed out, with the motor transport bylaw fee being amended to just an amendment from what's shown in the package to $25, and then an amendment for backyard hens to, it was $75?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions or discussion?
So for me, I just heard administration say that backyard hens would cost the county a little more in administrating it. So I wouldn't want the county subsidizing people's hens. So I think it should be 150. Maybe we can find a middle ground.
And that's in line with my thinking as well, Councillor Laprise. I recognize what Councillor Eichert is saying, and I don't want it to be onerous or burdensome. But like Councillor Laprise said, I also would like to be as close to cost recovery on it from an administrative time as possible, recognizing the requirements for circulation and the increased complexity. Obviously, just trying to strike a balance between making it attainable for Hamlet residents, and so that's my thoughts. Any other questions or discussion? Councillor Laursen.
I think I would be more in line with Shannon. As someone who's raised chickens for decades, I understand how much it costs to build a chicken coop. Even if you want to buy the one that's already made at PB Mart, for example, that's about $1,400. Then you've got feed, you've got to buy the chicks. I'm really struggling with how, if you can spend all that money, the $250 for us to recover the cost of doing this, it's too much of a burden for these people.
Any other questions or discussion?
So in here it says, from staff, hence require a significant review, so we're proposing a higher fee. That's from staff, so that they've looked at this and reviewed it. I understand trying to keep the cost down for people, but there's a lot to be said, and this is in our hamlets too, right? This isn't, so if on an acreage you don't need to do this. Certain amounts, so within the hamlets where the problems could arise, they need to make sure the setbacks, they have the management plan and stuff, so yeah, I think 75 is too low. But I look at all the other fees that are on, just to the left of here, and yeah, this is what people want. They've asked for it. They've spent a lot of time on this, a lot of money and time, staff time, so I can't support 75, sorry.
Any other questions or discussion?
My concern is going to be that human nature being human nature, we make this number too big, people are just going to go ahead and do it. And if they, and then it is going to be exactly like a dog license in the hamlet. Like, unless that dog is barking, more than likely the neighbors aren't going to complain. Everything we do here is complaint driven. So if the neighbor's got good relations with his neighbors, he's not going to bother with any of this. So why make it like I just think it, I know for a fact that 250, it's going to drive this. We're going to be doing nothing but sending out peace officers saying, oh, well, is that chicken coop? Is that mandated and all this kind of stuff, right? So I fail to see how some backyard chickens are going to be any more noisy than a dog. And if we're going to sit down there and worry about the worst case scenario, we read about these stories about where people have 35 cats in the house, and a cat, we don't charge dime one for anything in the county for cats and all that kind of stuff, right? So I think we should be trying to encourage people to do this as opposed to discourage them. I think that's the reason we did this law, this bylaw, is we're trying to encourage people, not discourage them. And so I'll stand by mine.
Any other questions or discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor?
Just for clarity, Tracy's going to pull up Word on the screen up there, and she's just going to type in the motion.
Sounds good.
Just so council can review the changes in text and able to read it prior to voting on it. Thanks.
Thank you.
And then also just a procedural point for council as well. I'm sure council know this, but just a friendly reminder, if unanimous permission is not granted to hold third and final reading, then it must come back to a future council meeting. Thank you.
Absolutely. Anytime anybody's looking.
So the motion, if Councillor Eckert agrees, is that council provide first reading of the Master Schedule of Fees bylaw number 2022-16 as amended to include an effective date of September 1, 2022 for the motor transport bylaw and a fee of $75 for the backyard hens, is I believe what
That's correct.
has been moved. We have a motion for $75. Councillor Baker.
I just wanted to point out too, like, compliance, I think is at 75 for residential. I mean, there's a lot to go into this compliance of a sale. So I'm thinking it's $75 isn't out of line. $75 for a deck. And I do agree with Councillor Eckert that we do want people to come in and register with it.
I guess the key kind of additional cost, there's the administrative time to kind of walk people through the application and that type of thing. But then I'm assuming our circulation also has like some hard costs associated when you're circulating neighbors, which for example, I think a compliance letter, and administration, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe we have to do the circulation. So I don't know what our approximate circulation costs are, but I'm sure when you add that with the administrative time, definitely trying to strike a balance. I completely see both sides of this. We don't want to be subsidizing, but also we don't want it to be cost prohibitive. Deputy Reeve Clausen.
So keeping an open mind here, when beehives are 75, what's the difference in notification between the beehives and hens? Is there any different process? It's exactly the same.
Through the Reeve Council, we circulate because both have to come back to Municipal Planning Commission as they are discretionary uses. The difference is the beehive is just one hive that can't have more, and it's just turned away. So the work in it is just the letter would go out. But you're correct, the postage and the time, but it's less with reviewing because it's not the same as reviewing the coop to make sure it meets the regulations that were in the last land use bylaw amendment, as well as setback requirements. We ask for a little more documentation than what we do through the beehive.
I'm just thinking in my head, typical, someone comes in with the napkins drawn on what they want their setbacks, and we approve it and say, okay, that's what we want, and then maybe follow up and review, maybe not, once it's constructed, so.
Any other questions or discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is lost. Do we have another proposal? Or another amendment, potentially?
I'll make a motion that council provide first reading of Master Schedule of Fees bylaw 2022-16 as amended to include an effective date of September 1, 2022 For the motor transport bylaw fee of $25 and a fee of $150 for backyard hens.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion is lost.
I'll move that council provide first reading for the master's schedule of fees bylaw 2022-16 as amended to include the effective date of September 1st, 2022 for the motor transport bylaw fee of $25 and the fee of $100 for backyard hens.
Questions or discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. And just a clarifying question for administration, the rest of the fee schedule beyond the master schedule of fees, for the motor transport bylaw, the rest would come into effect if we pass third reading, it would come into effect today?
Yes, when it's signed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Council's wishes, we have first reading passed.
I'll move that council provide second reading of amended bylaw 2022-16.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried.
I'll move that permission be granted to hold third and final reading of bylaw 2022-16.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion is not carried unanimously, so we will need to bring third and final reading back to our next council meeting. I did just want to note, Councillor Larson.
I'd just like to know, can I request administration to bring us back some more information on why they came up with the $250? Because I think there's probably a valid reason here.
Through the reeve, yes, we can bring back additional information.
Thank you.
Does everybody on council agree we need more information?
Sorry,
Does everybody on council agree we need more information?
I'm good with what we got now, but
I'm okay with more information.
You're okay with more?
I don't want them to spend a week doing it, but throw together something. I don't know.
Maybe we should just have a motion for more information, just because it will take staff capacity to bring back further.
Go ahead.
We already have that information. I think it's just easy as copying and pasting.
Okay, perfect. I just didn't want to create work if the majority felt like we had adequate information, but that's fine. If it's already done, that's great. Deputy Reeve Clausen.
Just for clarification, so the fee's already been set and passed, so that cannot, if it comes back for third reading, can that be brought up again?
No, it can't. So it could get defeated if.
So we could just keep defeating the whole bylaw if we don't have unanimous.
No, we don't need unanimous support for the next.
Oh, for
if
the
it
next-
comes back,
okay,
as long as the
just for-
majority of
okay,
council
gotcha.
supports it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it just delays the enactment of the bylaw to the next council meeting, but you only need unanimous reading for 3 readings in one meeting. I did just want to note, Deputy Reeve Clausen had pointed out that Councillor Custer had sent notification that he was not able to attend the meeting this morning. I think it was sent to CAO Henderson. I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add.
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Sorry?
Sorry, just that he sent notification.
Yeah, exactly. His absence with regrets. We'll move to 2.21. I just thought it would be appropriate to perhaps honor CEO of WFCSS, Lynn Walker, and her years of service in our region with a small memorial display in one of the kind of glass display areas in the entrance. I know we have a lot of ratepayers who She has served and had a really significant and meaningful impact through our social services program. Like I said, I don't want to at all step on the board's toes. So just wanted to open it up for discussion.
I attended last meeting in Councillor Bigger's absence, and this was discussed a little bit. I believe there was some stuff they're going to put in the hallway down. I think it was in the hallway down towards that area. I guess we could offer some space in the front if we wanted to. I think that would be appropriate. And if council wanted to do something else over and above, that's something we could make that decision. But,
If we can offer it.
or if there's a policy on such things, I don't know.
Yes, there is a policy on the bulletin board and display spaces. That's section 1.3. But council has the ability to kind of set the policy, amend the policy, or act outside of the policy as well.
I think we should offer it to the WFCSS board and see if they'd like to do it. I guess if they choose not to, we could choose to do that. I don't know.
Maybe we could start with, and I don't know that we need a motion. I don't think it needs to be formal, but if the board members are comfortable, if there's consensus, does anybody disagree?
No.
I think as long as WFF CSS has an office in the county building, I think that's very appropriate. If they, somewhere down the road, they get office space elsewhere, then I think that probably that memorial should be moved with the office space, right? So, yeah, no, I'm good with it. Yeah, I just don't want to.
Okay, it sounds like we have consensus. So perhaps if the board members could take to your next meeting, and then if you could just bring back with your report what the WFCSS board's direction is, and we can collaborate with them to do something appropriate. Thank you very much. We will move to 3.1, Reeves report. It's included in the package. It was a tremendous honor to attend the Environmental Stewardship Awards, both with Councillor Bigger to the Carsland School. They are doing some phenomenal work in terms of environmental stewardship and cultural education with the Blackfoot culture and Siksika Nation. They had an elder that they have done extensive work with, as well as with Councillor Lowerson to the Tracy family at their ranch. Really significant environmental stewardship work that goes on in our county, and I'm really grateful that we have those awards to recognize that, because I think we don't always tell our agricultural producers or businesses or nonprofits or educational institutes. I see us as being potential ambassadors for that work that's being done. So I'm really grateful that we have those awards that recognizes that. I do thank Council for agreeing to support my days in Ottawa for the Community Futures National Conference, Rural and Resilient. We did have an opportunity to meet with several MPs. We had over 50 at a reception that we held for them, and I also had meetings with the two MPs that represent the Wild Rose region that serves, or that our Community Futures Wild Rose serves, and advocate on a couple of key priority issues that we have for that. There was excellent, very practical workshops as well that our executive director and I are bringing back and potentially looking at implementing at Community Futures Wild Rose. Definitely a good opportunity, and then also just to meet with other board chairs and to hear best practices that are happening within Community Futures across Canada, and to see the significant impact of that. The open house at the Carsland Fire Hall was done incredibly well. I want to thank administration and Councillor Bigger for how well that was done. I think it was a phenomenal community event. There was, I don't know how many people we estimate that we had there, but there was a huge turnout and it was fantastic. Done very, very well. It's been good to continue our meetings with our regional colleagues and our neighbors. I think that's always a good opportunity. It's interesting to hear what their challenges are and some of their best practices that we might be able to consider. We've been continuing our regular meetings with MP Martin Shields. That's also a good opportunity to hear about some of the issues that our colleagues in the region are experiencing and to advocate to MP Shields. Very exciting announcement for our neighbors with the town, with the announcement of Phyto Organics, and I want to thank Deputy Reeve Clausen for attending that. I was out of town with another commitment for RME that day, and I do appreciate you attending on our behalf. It's a really good opportunity. I've already talked to some egg producers who are contemplating starting to grow yellow peas or increasing their production because of potential contracts they'll have with Phyto. LGFF, that was a good presentation from RME, definitely something that there will be further discussions regarding. And Wheatland Crossing, it was really good to be back in person at the graduation out at Wheatland Crossing School. Exciting to see the future residents and yeah, just incredible youth at that event. And also congratulations to Councillor LaPrice and the Strathmore Wheatland Chamber, the Tour 564 trade show. I was able to spend a morning there, and it was fantastic. You guys had an incredible turnout, diverse businesses and groups that were able to showcase their businesses and their services that they offer there. Really, really impressive. And I'll just include all in one motion. I did include the key performance indicator performance report for Community Futures. This is probably one of the kind of quickest way to see the impact of Community Futures Wild Rose in the region. And you'll see that the organization far exceeds our targeted KPIs. You can see like 860% for number of partners engaged in community-based projects, 462% of our target for leveraging or dollars leveraged for value of community-based projects, 1,192% for the number of businesses created, maintained, or expanded through business services. Huge business training sessions, and amount leveraged through lending was over 1,000% as well. So these targets are set by the federal government based on sort of our size and our lending pool and our staff. So if you have an opportunity to lobby the federal government, we are in a contract that will see us having the same, like the exact same dollar figure for 17 years for the work that we're doing at Community Futures Wild Rose. And as you can see, we leverage our capacity very, very well. But it is getting more challenging, particularly with inflation and being able to retain our team and that type of thing. Just trying to do, obviously, the more with the same amount of funding that we've had for it will be 17 years at the end of this contract. So just a advocacy point, if anybody, particularly if you somehow have an opportunity to advocate to the federal government that is in power. MP Shields has presented this to Goody Hutchings. She's the Rural Economic Development Officer, or Rural Economic Development Minister with the federal government, and Damien Carrick and his staff are advocating as well. But just a piece, if somewhere in your travels you have an opportunity. And then just the loan portfolio report, and I like to just share that, particularly when we see an additional loan in the county or in a sector that is relevant to the county. So you can see by sector and community the loans there. And with that, I will move my report as presented. I'm happy to answer any questions that there may be. All in favor? Motion is carried. We'll move to 3.2, Deputy Reeves' report.
Thank you. My report is on page 50. Other than the council and MPC, the Wheatland County Staff Barbecue, was nice to be able to see everybody and hand out some hats and give them some food and visit with people, and everybody seemed to be in good spirits and happy, and it's nice to see a good summer coming, and hopefully it stays that way and everybody can stay working and no pox of any type coming. WRC board, I informed them about the decision of council to serve Redland, and that was there was no real issue there, just more seemed very willing to provide hookup services and work together, and I think it should be, once we get all our ducks in a row and figure out what we're doing, we'll get it moving forward. I had two meetings with SEWA, and I did email an update here this morning to all council and to Brian as well, like the approved notification, because there's lots going on. Attended the Phyto Organics Yellow Pea Processing Facility open house in Strathmore, the announcement of it. Lots of delegates there. Very good for Strathmore and for the area too. There's some spin-offs for us as well for producers. And I understand they have 2 meetings coming up in the future, meeting with producers to try to build on that. If there's no questions, I'll move my report as presented.
But I'm just curious about the phyto-organics. Is it organic peas or?
So I had asked that question, their agronomist was there, and I said, there's not a lot of organics in the area here. And he said, basically said a small portion will be that, but it sounds like they can take both. So it's a protein substitute, I believe, is what it boils down to. So.
Yeah, they'll make 3 products. I think the protein, the fiber. What is the third one? But yeah, they use the entire plant. They will, from what the group that I met with said, they'll primarily use non-organic to start with, but they do have a program where they will sort of contract through a process if a grower wanted to transition to organics. They will sort of work with a producer to do that, but that will be one stream, and then they'll also have I don't know the proper word, but traditionally grown, or
I believe I saw on, I think our Facebook or somebody had it, where they showed the 2 meetings they were having. They had one in Strathmore and one out east somewhere, I believe, too.
Yeah, they'd like to meet with Wheatland County and Vulcan County growers. So if anybody has an opportunity to share with agricultural producers in your division, that would be fantastic. The county did work with the town and the company just to help amplify that, because there's definitely that benefit to our growers. So
Good. It's exciting.
yeah, it is excellent. Any other questions? All in favor? Motion is carried. We'll move to 3.3. Division 1.
So I had the honor of going to the Hike for Hospice and having some opening remarks on behalf of Wheatland County, so that was good. It was a great day for hospice. And I want to talk about the trade show, Strathmore Wheatland Chamber of Commerce. It was a huge success. So we had 42 booths, 8 outdoors. We had a food truck, beer garden, entertainment, bouncy castle, kids zone. It was a full fair. We had approximately 800 attendees, so that was remarkable. People were very interested in coming out to see what was there. We raised $1,400 for the overnight shelter in donations, so that was another huge win for this group. Yeah. On Thursday, we'll have a postmortem to discuss what worked well and what we'll do better next year. And I think now that we've had that first inaugural year under our belt, there'll be more vendors interested in attending next year. So I think it's just going to, expand and be better every year from now. So that was awesome. The team worked amazingly together. We had lots of volunteers to help out, just to make sure the show was running as it should, and everybody was really willing to help out in any way they could. So it was very, very well done. Also some last minute news. While we were all busy with the trade show, the Alberta Chamber of Commerce held their AGM. nobody from our chamber attended because we were busy with our trade show. However, we won an award for Chamber of the Year for our size in the category of something like, I don't know, 100 to 300 members or something like that. So that's a huge win for us too, and we weren't even there to accept the award, which is too bad, but really good news for our chamber. So yeah, the next event for the Chamber of Commerce is the Strathmore Stampede Parade. So I'll be on the organizing and coordinating committee. I won't be there that day because I have a family wedding in Edmonton, but that's the next on our agenda. This group is very busy, and so as you'll see, I'm going to talk about that in a bit. But yeah, so I think that's really the rest we've kind of already talked about with. Yeah, so I'll move my report as presented.
Any questions or discussion?
No question, just comment. I tried to get over there for the trade show, but it was grad day, and
Yes.
I'm surprised you had that many people because it was such a busy day for the parents. But I imagine with maybe the extended family, they probably got a chance to go over there because there's a ton of people in town.
Yeah, I agree. The timing is tricky. It's grad weekend. It's farmers are just finished seeding, so they're tired. They don't really feel like going to something like that. So I don't know if we can revisit the date, but now that it's set up that time, I'm not sure it's good to change. We'll talk about that, I guess, as a chamber, but you're right. It's a tricky time.
Well, grad had 2 sittings, so there was a morning sitting and an afternoon, and then they had the grand march at the end, so there's people in town that probably maybe had some idle time.
Yeah.
We certainly didn't, but
Yeah.
but yeah, lots.
The other thing, I guess, I was worried about it being over 2 days, but it turned out that was actually a huge benefit. I think more people came on the Sunday than did on the Saturday, which is interesting. Like, I really thought that maybe we had already had the people coming through, but there was more again on Sunday. So yeah, it's good to know how it went for this first year.
Awesome, good to hear.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and please pass along our congratulations to the Chamber for that award. That is well deserved. The work that our Chamber has been doing is absolutely phenomenal, and I do hear that from businesses in the county. They're also, and I know Donna worked on this when she was on the board, and I know you've been continuing it, the outreach to Wheatland County businesses is appreciated, and still trying to get the word out there about the benefits program and things like that. Actually, something that tweaked for me at the trade show, and I should have thought of this before, but they had a brochure for the benefits, and one was targeted towards sort of what you would typically think of as a business, and one was actually targeted at agricultural producers. And I hadn't actually thought about sharing the benefits program with our agricultural producers. So maybe there's a way to work with administration to sort of amplify that through Wheatland County as well. And I feel terrible. I just had not made that connection that could be something helpful. Yeah, clearly they're businesses, but I just hadn't thought of the need, and definitely something to look at. If council's comfortable with that. And I also wanted to thank you for bringing a greeting to the hike for hospice. I had some health issues and a death in the family and was not able to attend, unfortunately. But thank you for being there. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. We'll move to 3.31.
Right. So I've been looking at the EOEP courses, and right now they're offering one on intermunicipal collaboration, which I thought was timely for us, and I would be interested in taking it. It's a $295 course. It's a 3-day virtual course, so it won't cost anything in terms of travel or accommodation, so that's good. So I'm just looking for council's approval to attend. That's tomorrow.
Any questions regarding the EOEP course? I I fully support you going. I had hoped to attend myself, but I have some other commitments on the dates of the courses. But I think it does cover a lot, and maybe I can connect with you after, and you can, or even all of council, we can
I'd be happy to bring forward any.
glean some of the insights that you get from there. I think it will be really valuable, and it is timely for sure. So
I understand they've changed the course a bit. They had been focusing on the intermunicipal actual agreements, and now they're, I think, broadening it to just more relationship building and how to, so I think it's great.
yeah, no, that's
I hope it'll be
fantastic.
great.
Somebody prepared to make a motion?
Oh, I thought that was the motion.
I just,
If not, I'll make
maybe
the
if one
motion
of us wants to
that,
make it.
that Councillor Laprise enroll in the EOEP course, Intermunicipal Collaboration, being held virtually on June 8th, 15th, and 22nd.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. We'll move to 3.32.
So this is another request I have for council's consideration. And that is that, so the Strathmore and Wheatland District Chamber of Commerce does take a lot of time. And so I attended both days of the trade show. I'm actually a little unclear whether what should be volunteer time and what should be considered for reimbursement. So I just wanted to ask, I guess, if I could claim 2 half days and mileage for my time spent this weekend.
Councillor Larson?
I think that's a good idea. I mean, if you look at the price of gas right now and the distance that people like you and I have to travel to get, we're even at the mileage, we're not even getting our gas money back right now.
Right.
So I think you should get it.
I guess I'm a little confused. I think this wouldn't even have to come to council. I think it's part of your board duties. And you could put that on your sheet. Am I wrong?
And that, I would say I agree with you 100%, Councillor Bigger, that this is part of your duties, and if you want to, if you want to apply for a full day attendance, that is, I believe that's part of the board that you're on. So no problems here.
Yeah, and I fully support this event. I do think it raises a question. I have actually just recently had a concern brought forward from a ratepayer about some board and committee work. But I don't think that's a conversation for today, but it might be good for like a future council meeting or committee of the whole. Just for us to have our clarity ourselves around, because I believe we approve to attend board meetings. And then events and stuff are kind of a gray area. I believe our policy is clear that we need approval for conferences. But it would be good, like fully support this. And I'm glad you brought it forward. I think I have no issue with it. And I know that takes a lot of work, but I think it would be good just to have a conversation in the future around sort of time being spent on boards or committees and that type of thing.
It's good to have clarity.
Okay, and that's exactly what it is. Deputy Reeve
For
Clausen.
myself, similar. I fully support this, no problems. But I think it's important that we do bring this forward. I would suggest committee of the whole if we could. And because there's the costs are going up exponentially for us, and which is fine. But there's also a per diem that we get, and I think about going to like these openings for other places. I mean, it's time on your day. It's time out of. Sometimes I take time off of work, which I try to avoid to do.
Right.
But I mean, that's a loss. Is it? I always take it as do I gain anything personally off of it? And that's the way I look at it. And 99% of the time, you don't. Mm-hmm. So it's your time. You're representing Wheatland County in some way, shape, or form. I do know in this room there has been discussion in the previous council about what is part of that per diem, what is part of what is expected of you in committees and subcommittees and all that. I think it's a great discussion we should have, and it would give staff clarity too as well, which they don't really stick their nose in this too much. But we do follow policy and stuff, but we need to clarify that.
Well, I'll make a motion that we ratify Councillor Lapre's attendance to the Strathmore Chamber of Commerce trade show for 2 days and whatever, and mileage.
Perfect.
So
Councillor
just a
Larson?
clarification, Councillor Archer, are you motioning for 2 full days then? Because then we would just have to, I agree with you, but I think then we would have to amend her motion to reflect that.
think he said
she
2
probably
days.
spent more than a half day there, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
I said 2 days.
said 2
so-
days.
Yeah, so
Full days.
full days, yeah.
So that's the amendment?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, good enough.
Any questions or discussion? Good clarification. All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Did council want to pass an additional motion to direct administration to bring this policy back for discussion on the committee as a whole?
That would be perfect.
So moved.
Deputy Reeve Clausen has moved. Any questions or discussion? It will make Shannon's job easier. Everyone. Any questions or discussion?
It's a busy committee. It is a busy committee.
Yeah. All in favor? Motion is carried. 3.4, Division 3 Councillor Report.
Yes. I didn't actually have it on here, but I did attend the Carsland School Awards Day, Youth Awards. Very, very good school. Very innovative. They have a greenhouse that they do work with. They grow mint and then they dry it and sell it for teas. Very innovative school. Very proud of them. My report is there. I don't think I have anything to add. The fire hall, thank you, Matthew. And everybody else that helped you from staff. It was great. It was well put together. I'm glad Carsland always seems to show up, so I'm really proud of them for that. The community was very happy about the all good comments about the fire hall. I'll just think that's it. I'll actually announce that Carsland's having Aggie Days on June 18th and 19th with the Bullarama on the 19th. If you guys could all make it, that would be great. Bring your cowboy hat. I'll move my report as read.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Yes, we've had a request for a break. Let's break until 10 after 10.
You have been muted. To unmute yourself, press the star key twice. Mute off.
Good morning. We'll call the meeting back to order. And we will move to, I believe we accepted Division 3 Councillor report. Perfect. We'll move to 3.5.
My report is on the server. I think everything's been covered. The only thing I want to bring attention to is the Carsland Fire Hall open house. That was absolutely wonderfully done. And I also want to give kudos to administration because I was fortunate enough to attend the Langdon Fire Hall open house on the weekend. And I believe we have as good a building at substantially less money. Like, we've done a wonderful job in, like, I still cannot believe that we brought that project in at that number. So thank you very much, administration, and whoever put together the events. My granddaughter had an absolutely wonderful time there. So thank you again. So I will move my report.
Any questions for Councillor Eichert? All in favor? Motion is carried. We'll move to 3.6. Councillor Kester's not here, but perhaps we could just move to accept the report for information.
So moved.
Councillor Larson has moved. All in favor? Motion is carried. We'll move to 3.7.
Okay. My report is in your hands. handouts because I sent it on May 30th, but I didn't get it, and I didn't clue in, because usually Shanna always tells me when she got it, but I never bothered checking, so that's why I didn't get in. It's pretty self-explanatory. I did not put the Wheatland County barbecue in on the thing because I didn't know that we could get remunerated for it or not, but I did attend it, and it was really good. It was a lot of fun. Other than that, it's relatively self-explanatory, so unless there's some questions, I accept my report.
Any questions for Councillor Larson?
Just a clarification, I didn't remunerate, so.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I figured. That's why I kind of didn't know whether I should put it on or not put it on.
Yeah, and much of my report is not remunerated. It's just there for council information. Part of council reeve, whatever. Any other questions? All in favor? Motion is carried. We will move to 3.71.
Okay, town hall meeting. So, as I had said earlier, I want to have a town hall meeting. Brian gave me the information on what it's supposed to be, or the policy for that. And he suggested that rather than just hold it, I should bring it here first. So I want to hold one in Dallam and one in Hussar, basically just to outline, so that people in the county know what the strategic plan is, what our yearly plans are, and then see what kind of questions and concerns that they have. And that does fall within the policy that Brian said to me, where it's one is to inform, communicate decisions and actions to stakeholders, and then listen and learn and gather and understand stakeholder feedback. So I guess I would make a motion that, does council have to ratify this, Brian, or is this just a heads up?
No, just a notification.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's just simple as that.
So I'll work with administration to set up how we're going to do this, and we'll kind of get I think I'd like to put a slide deck together so that we have a consistent message but I'll work with administration on that, and we can circulate that to everybody if you want, so that you know how it's going to happen. But I would like to get it done in June if we can, because before school gets out, and I don't know that we can. If we can't do it until June, I think we'll move it to fall. So, but we can talk about that together and figure that out.
Just a point of procedure, if administration is involved, then there should be a council motion. And that's the only thing. There's a potential synergy that Brad and I were discussing earlier, and we'll bring that to your attention. It's at the end of June, just with the Bridge 11 presentation in the county to be held.
Yeah.
But we'll bring that date forward to you.
And I wanted to talk about that one too.
Okay, perfect. We can chat about that one later.
Get to that, yeah.
Thank you.
So it's up to you guys. If you want, if you want to just give me a slide deck, I can just go do it. I just assumed you'd want to be involved in some way, shape, or form.
So, kind of administration's plan is to bring the strategic plan back to the committee of the whole for presentation, and at least get either further direction, or I don't think we can't get approval at that point, but that would be one thing that we could do as well. And if there's any administration involvement, it would just be a council resolution.
And that's what I was going to ask, because I also would like to hold a couple. I was contemplating just waiting until we finalize the new strat plan and doing them potentially in the fall. We have a strategic plan you could present that is currently approved, but we'll probably be looking at like end of June or maybe our first July meeting to potentially approve our new, like the revised strategic plan. So, yeah. And I think just what administration's saying is if you'd like a slide deck prepared, then we should have a resolution directing administration to do that. And then just determine if you want to do that with the current strategic plan or wait for the updated one. I think Deputy Reeve Clausen and then Councillor Larson. And was there a hand here? No? Okay.
So, these open houses kind of thing, I know in my division, I've never done one. It's just because of what's happened with COVID and everything. Which is no excuse, but I know my predecessor would have just coffee with the councillor, and there was no real presentation from staff or anything. It all depends on what you want to do, I guess. I wouldn't be opposed to having some kind of thing that we all would have be able to take with us nothing too complicated, but myself, I don't think I'd involve staff there. It's more, you want feedback from your community, I think, as a counselor, but I don't know.
And that was kind of, that's what I meant. What I would like is that the stuff that I'm going to present should be consistent, and that's where I would look to administration for. Let's make sure the stuff that I'm saying, so that I'm not talking out of my hat. Because you're going to get questions that you're not going to want to answer, so it's better to be prepared and have the right stuff so that you can answer it properly. And that's kind of where I was looking at. I don't necessarily want, administration would be welcome to come, but I would expect that. Just more of getting a consistent message out is what I would look to administration.
Would you be comfortable waiting till the fall till we have the updated strat plan? Just thinking then we could just create one slideshow that all
that's
councillors
probably
could have access to, knowing that you will have that touch point, at least in Dallam, with the bridge. There will be that meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
I'm sorry?
have a Wademsa meeting this
Oh, I see. Okay.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and I'll just put it on hold for now, and then when we get...
We could do a motion just for efficiency. You could direct administration to prepare a slide deck once the new strategic plan has been approved by council. And then they could set to work on that and then...
Sure. And that way we can all use it. So I would make that motion that once the new strategic plan's approved by council, prepare I'm with Scott, a simple slideshow that councillors can use at town hall meetings.
Perfect. Any questions or discussion? Thank you for bringing that forward. I fully agree and had intended to. I was just waiting on that strat plan. I don't think it'll be substantively different, but just to do the update, I think would be excellent. And it is a really good opportunity to engage. So thank you. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. We'll move to 3.72.
That's 4-H support, right?
Yeah, you betcha.
Yeah. So I'm glad Russ made it in here. So Russ and I were at the, the Wheatland Huzzar 4-H club now or something to that effect. Oh yeah, Huzzar and Wheatland West 4-H show. And we got a bit of sticker shock there. So we didn't end up buying a calf because it would have used the entire budget to buy one calf, or pretty close to the entire budget. So I just wanted to bring it forward to you guys. If we're going to continue doing this, and I think this is a good face for the county to put up, because we're spending ratepayers' money, but it's going back to ratepayers and it's showing support for some pretty important community stuff. So we will be, unless you guys are in disagreement with at the ASB, we're going to look at upping the budget next year to an amount that we can continue with this program. So unless someone's opposed to the program, that was mostly what I wanted to talk about.
Was there lots of companies bidding on this?
There was the usual suspects. Do you want to speak on that, Russ? Okay, because you were there a little bit longer than I was.
Morning, Council. Russ Montress from administration. Just to clarify, there's actually two show and sales in the municipality. There's Huzzar, and then there's Wheatland West. So they're two separate ones. So we had $7,000 budgeted, which was enough last year. We were actually a little bit under budget for purchasing 2 calves and 1 lamb. So I have kind of a budget what I figured I could spend at the Huzzar one, and everything was kind of over that. Wheatland West turned out to be even more so. I did end up purchasing a calf and lamb there, which pretty much used up the whole budget. The way things are, it looks like we could potentially need just about double in the budget. We recoup a certain amount of the costs by selling the animals after as well. So, and as far as who was there, there was, businesses, private individuals as well. So I think just not having a live sale for, the last couple of years certainly made a difference.
I'm just thinking that if there's companies bidding these up to that extent that it's out of our range, then do we need to? I mean, if there's good enough support in the area anyways, I'm just curious whether we think it's a value. I understand the community support is nice, but just curious if there's already lots of support out there.
Yeah, and I have had similar thoughts, just because it is taxpayer dollars, and just stewarding those. And if there are ways, like through CURB or things like that, that 4-H clubs could access support if they have projects or that type of thing. I don't have an issue with the program, but I would want to just be cautious in watching it. I'm glad that you were able to do the support. I know it's been a long-standing thing, and it's always hard to predict, like with where the economy is going and how much support there will be for the 4-H members. So, but excellent for us to have that heads up, and as that market changes, definitely something to look at when we're looking at that ASB budget, and good for council to have the heads up for sure. Yes.
And that's kind of what, I mean, we could end up next year. I mean, let's just say Russ and I talked, we think we need to double the budget. But by the next 4-H sale, we might not need it. But the thing is, because Russ and I talked about, well, do we go over budget and buy a calf anyway? And I'm like, well, it's probably better to wait. And certainly that was Russ's feeling too. Let's not go over the budget. Let's just make the budget where it needs to be so we can operate within it. So that's what we'll be looking at to the ASB, which will have to be ratified by you guys anyway.
Sounds good.
At least you got to bid them up.
Yes, exactly.
Well, and understanding Russ isn't going to be here next year, so I need this stuff all lined out before he's gone.
Don't make us cry during a council meeting. Thank you for the update. We will move to 3.73.
Okay. So this one is about the in-camera legislation. I've had a good number of complaints from ratepayers about the county spends too much time in camera. So I looked at the last one where we had a letter that was read into public, and then we went in camera to discuss what we're going to do with the letter, and then the resolution that came out of that in-camera session, you could make the argument that that was as harmful for relations between local government bodies as would have been the discussion of the in-camera thing. So I'm wondering if we should get like an explanation or something, maybe even from Brownlee, on exactly what our parameters are for in-camera sessions to make sure that we're not overstepping our bounds by putting too much stuff in camera. Well, I'm just looking to see what everybody else thinks. Because that's a complaint I get pretty regularly, is that we spend too much time in camera.
Me personally, I've never heard that. I know that all councils go in camera. The fact that we record all our council meetings, where there's a lot of councils that don't. We don't know that we're more public than most. Yeah, but I think we're legislated quite well right now. I think we know what we can go on camera for. I know that we're very scrutinized when we're not in camera. Like even bad wording could harm more relations, I think, and if you want to be honest, in camera doesn't hurt. Anyway, that's my opinion. But I've never heard that we go on camera too much.
Yeah, myself, from my division, I've never had any complaints about it. I always go by the 3 land, legal, labor. That's what I've always been ingrained in my head. I know some of the other municipalities may disagree with what we do. And like Councillor Bigger was saying, all our stuff is recorded, and I think I've been picked up as an interview on discussion. And it's been brought in as some other open forum that says, oh, I've been interviewed by the so-and-so reporter. It's not been the case. The reporter looks at our video, pulls parts of what you say out, post it in a paper, and twist it around a little bit, and you have no opportunity to even know what's coming out. So there's that. But I understand what you're saying. That's kind of different than the in-camera. But I would support maybe a review of the in-camera and what is the do's and don'ts of it. And I think we could probably do that in-house. We probably have the expertise here to services, or if we have to bring somebody in from Brownlee to say what you are and you aren't able to do, so everybody's comfortable with it. I definitely, I know there's a lot. I mean, I was just at a board meeting, and there was some stuff that the chair did not want to be in camera, and some stuff that it was, and I would have done it differently, but I wasn't the chair, so, you know, that's how it is, I guess. I always think about the reliabilities of what you say and your responses, and it's good as a group. I think sometimes you have to have it behind closed doors, so you have it align your ideas and hash it out, and then come up with a statement or whatever you have to do to protect the entity of the county. So.
And I completely agree with what Scott's saying. I just think we could probably use a little clarity around our policy to make sure, because then if we're doing everything that we're supposed to be doing and it's all done right, then when someone says, because I've had people that I know that live in other divisions say the same thing to me, so it would be good to be able to say, no, this is what the, you know, because the FOIP Act is what we go by, right? But it's referenced on 197 of the MGA. So I just, you know, if we could have something that just says, this is when you can, this is when you can't, and then if there's complaints, no, we've reviewed this and it's the way it's supposed to be. Or if it needs to be changed, then we change it.
So was this covered in everybody's meeting 101? Because mine went into it fairly in depth. Legal covered it in my meeting 101. You guys were all at Strathmore?
Can't remember. I'd have to go back in the notes. Yeah, to be honest.
Okay.
It's covered pretty good.
Yeah, it was covered well in my meeting 101, and there was the lawyer that presented it did answer some questions, but I knew I was in a different session than you guys were due to a scheduling conflict. April 5th, I did send out FOIP resources specific to municipalities. I sent 4. There is no definitive answer in what you can go into closed session or not. There's obviously the FOIP Act with all of the exceptions to the business that we must conduct in public. But at the end of the day, council has the authority to determine when they're going to go into closed session. Our administration typically does provide recommendations on when we can ask for a recommendation if we're not clear. We did have an instance recently where we asked administration to get a specific legal opinion. There was whether we should go into closed session or not. There was still council disagreement on even following the legal recommendation, and there always will be. That's the reason we're here. It's excellent to have different perspectives and different opinions on things. That's why we're here. If we weren't, CEO Henderson could run the whole county the way he sees best, but we are here to debate, and majority council decision is ultimately what determines. I'm totally comfortable if we feel we need further training on it. Some of us have had training multiple times, but at the end of the day, it really is a determination based on the legislation that we're bound by, and council has the authority to work within that legislation. And I haven't ever had any complaints about being in closed session too much. If I did, I would probably point them to some of the resources that I sent on April 5th, and you can just let them know that the vast majority of our business is conducted in open session. I know we recently had correspondence saying that I used the word transparent. I can't remember exactly how it was described, but in not very kind ways. But we are transparent. All council direction is made in an open public meeting. At times, it is appropriate for debate or advice from our legal counsel, or at times advice from our administration, discussions about private business, all of the exceptions, intergovernmental relations. It's always striking that balance between transparency and the accountability to our ratepayers with working within that legislation. So totally comfortable if we feel we could use more training. we could, I'm not sure if administration feels that they have the capacity to provide that or if we need to bring somebody in, but we could look at that.
Again, for myself, giving fellow councillors the tools they need to support what we do and how we do it and make sure you can answer the hard questions because they do come. I think that's great. I mean,
absolutely.
And being, only being second term on, you kind of get comfortable with stuff and being new to it. I remember the fire hose of information, and when you get a little bit longer on, you kind of turn that fire hose off to the side a little bit. But yeah, there is always going to be challenges to our decisions, especially controversial ones, and that is part of that's why we're here, to make the hard decisions and have to defend them and support them after. That's the biggest thing, is supporting them after they're voted on, making sure that you have the tools in your toolkit to support them and be able to defend them. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Question?
I just want to say I think knowledge is power, so that's always good to get advice on where things stand. But I do think that what we're going to find is that there are gray areas, that it's not going to be a black and white answer. You can do this and you can't do that. So, yeah, I wouldn't want to spend too much time on it, but I do think that it's kind of up to us in the end to determine when we go in camera and when we don't, and it's a group decision. So sadly, I don't think we're going to get the great answer that we're hoping for, that we would wish for.
Question to administration. Does administration feel they have the capacity to provide further information on FOIP?
Let us do some digging on that one, and then we'll report back to council either way. I'm just kind of talking to Tracy right now. Actually, we're maybe looking to try to find a cheat sheet that's already prepared on, topics and items that can fall, and then what sections they fall under. So typically, what we do for administration is that Deputy Reeve Clausen kind of mentioned this, land, legal, labor. We'll also always reference that FOIP section, and I think we have some ideas that we can probably try. We might not get back to council until after the council recess, but if there's a cheat sheet that we can find online that's already pre-prepared, and maybe we can ask our counterparts at other bigger municipalities that have more resources, we can do that as well and see what we can do and bring back for council for information.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah, I was just going to say, especially for me, because this is my first term, that would be super helpful for me to know where the goalposts are, so to speak, and then I can, because right now I can't answer the questions to these guys because I don't know.
Yeah, one good kind of cheat sheet from that April 5th email is just the FOIP frequently asked questions for municipalities, and then Municipal Affairs does have a closed meetings of council. It's also kind of like a cheat sheet, if you will. It's 3 pages. I'll check if I sent it. If I didn't, I'll make sure I forward that. I don't know if I did because it basically just reiterated what was in other documents. And then I do have another document, closed meetings of council. I don't know who put this out. Probably Municipal Affairs. So I'll forward to administration and to council anything that I have that I didn't before. And then, if administration can check, and if there's that internal capacity, we can bring that back. I think that would be excellent. And certainly agree with Deputy Reeve Clausen that we want to be equipped as well as possible. So thank you for bringing that forward.
And I think what Councillor Priest said too, there's a lot of that gray area, and it's what the group decides, I think, is important, because as the group we have the ability to say yes, we're going to do it, or no, we're not, and vote on it like we do normally. And then each situation can be unique. So
Yeah, absolutely. Would administration like a resolution?
Yes, we should.
Okay. Councillor Larson, do you want to?
What do you want me to say?
Perhaps a suggested motion that administration bring back information on in-camera items and applicable FOIP sections.
Sure, I'll move that.
Sounds good. Questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. we'll move to 4.11.
No, I think you missed.
Oh, my apologies.
Sorry.
4, Hazara Seed Plant grand opening invitation.
And I just wanted to bring this to everybody's attention. This was sent to Amber and I on Facebook Messenger by Russell Nail from the seed cleaning plant, and they just wanted to let us know that now COVID's over. They're going to have a barbecue June 21st. Now we have council meeting that day, so and I don't think everybody necessarily wants to go, but if we could have a 90-minute lunch break maybe that day, I could pop out and at least show up and come back. And then if anybody else wants to or not, it would just be, I think it would show good support. We've helped them quite a bit. And if everybody wants to come, maybe we take a long lunch break. I don't know.
And I meant to check with Russell. Are they planning for noon? Did you clarify? Or
No,
is it
I
in the
haven't
evening?
clarified with them.
Okay.
I could do that right now if you want. But
Yeah, if you wanted. I actually meant to.
I was gonna
just
do that and I
have
totally
not
forgot.
Yeah, and I just had not had time, so. Because I thought if it was in the evening.
let me just, I'm pretty sure he said it's at noon, but I'll just give him a call here and I'll be right back. Well, I guess I can do it here if you don't mind.
Why don't we just take a break for 5 minutes and then we'll reconvene. We will come back at 10:45.
You have been muted. To unmute yourself, press the star key twice.
I gotta get Brian to get me because after we changed all those, I'm confused as to which boards I'm on.
Mute off.
That'd be good.
Good morning. It may be on the website as well. I'm not sure if it's totally updated. Yes? Perfect, thank you. We'll call the meeting back to order. And we'll discuss the Hazara Seed Plant grand opening.
I didn't get an answer back from
okay.
Russ yet. Just a minute.
Council, we'll wait 1 minute.
Oh, sorry, I do have one, so indulge me. It says they'll start at noon, but are starting around 11:30. So,
Okay.
and it'll probably only be an hour. Like you said, it's going to be fairly low key, but they're very clear that they couldn't have done what they've done without us. So, it's obviously important to them that we show some level of support. So I think I'll probably go for sure, and I'm going to miss 15 minutes on either side of the meeting. We can take a long lunch break, whatever.
Do we want to go and have lunch out in Hazara? Would council be comfortable?
I think we should take a couple cars and go. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't
We
know
could
what's our
make
agenda
time.
look like that day. We can make time.
We can make time.
Okay.
Council has the discretion to recess the meeting and come back. It's not unheard of.
So, do you want a motion for that? Or we can just coordinate it?
You can just coordinate day of, as long as all of council's in agreement.
Perfect.
All of council doesn't even have to be in agreement, but it sounds like there's unanimous support to do that anyways.
Yeah, I think we have good consensus.
I think I should probably give Russell a rough idea
Yeah.
of how many people, just to be fair to them. So would we be looking at, council and some administration, or just council, or?
So actually, I was going to mention during my report that I'm not going to be here on the 21st, so Matt's going to be running the meeting. I'll mention that again.
So maybe if we wanted to see, like, if Matt and Russ and Brad, Tracy, do you guys want to go for a drive out to Hazara?
Gladly. And we won't.
So if you said 11 people,
I was just going to say,
potentially,
in
10 or
that way,
11,
if we can't all make it, but at least then he's got an idea.
Tom and I can always share a burger if there's too many of us. Tom disagrees. Yeah, we'll coordinate that. That's excellent. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Now we will move to 4.11.
Good morning, Council. Brian from administration. On page 67 of your agenda package is my monthly report. All the duties in the month of May have been reported on. On page 69 of the agenda package is the council resolution report. We had some older resolutions kind of crossed off from some previous council motions that have been outstanding for a while, so that's good. And then we anticipate to get some more crossed off with the committee of the whole on June 14th. If there's any questions, please let me know. Thank you.
Any questions for CAO Henderson?
I have one question. So something has come up, and so I see we have a resolution to review the uses, discretionary and permitted, sorry, my eyes, this is so small, within the zones to ensure that we're not precluding certain uses. It's resolution CM 2021-05-29. And so I'm just, when we're doing those review, I've been talking to some people in my area about the use of CCANs. And I believe that needs a development permit, and I'm curious whether whether we think that's a hard requirement or whether that should be maybe a non-permitted, like not needing a development permit for that. Yeah. So that's just a question to maybe look at when we're doing that task.
Matt, I'll let you go ahead.
I'll give a bit of background to the conversation. So that's kind of an ongoing standing resolution. So it came up during the discussion about discretionary and permitted uses in specific areas to make things more streamlined. So that means that as we go along reviewing it, staff are doing that. It's on our work plan in planning and development. We'll have to review the uses and see that are seeing an uptake and interest in development. And CCANs is in fact one of them that ebb and flows. There is rationale for getting a development permit for a CCAN, aesthetics, placement, etc., and also to kind of get an idea as to what the CCAN will be used for. But certainly, of course, staff are reviewing it. So an example of something similar, obviously, with wheels that may be parked or mobile homes, right, with the certificate. So we did a review, an ongoing review of that, and brought that back for a land use bylaw amendment, if you recall. So obviously, we'll note CCANs, best practices, but certainly from a development perspective, that's why CCANs are listed under there, but good to know. So thank you for the feedback, and we'll review that.
Yeah, I just wonder if maybe there's a difference between CCAN in an ag land and CCAN in a hamlet kind of thing. Maybe there's two different requirements there. But that's, yeah, I just wanted to bring it to.
Sure.
For review.
Yeah, it would be good to look at again. We have discussed it in the past, and I know there's certainly mixed perspectives on it. Lots of considerations, as Deputy CEO Boscariel said, but good to have that conversation. And it's certainly an issue, like we're not the only municipality where there's diverse perspectives on it and different ways of approaching it. So that would be good to have that discussion. Thank you. Any other questions for CAO Henderson? If not, a motion to accept his report as information.
I'll move that council accept the May 2022 Chief Administration Officer report as information, and further that council accept the June 7, 2022 council resolution tracker as information.
Any questions or discussion? Do you need a glass of water, Councillor Larson? Do you want me to grab you some water?
No, I got something. Thanks.
Okay.
I'll get it.
Okay. All in favor? Motion is carried. We'll move to 4.12. Annual report.
Yes, good afternoon, or good morning, Council. So Brian from Administration again. So this is just our annual report that we have prepared internally for publication. So this year was a little bit different. So we kind of identified that our report may have just been, our previous reports, they definitely had information, but we were looking to modernize the report. So one thing that we did was we took the template suggested by Municipal Affairs and we followed that template closely. And yeah, that's about it. We just kind of put different messaging in here. Everything is kind of in the agenda package. It's common to put in a message from the Reeve and CAO, have council in there as well, the administrative team and the financials. So if there's any questions, please let me know. Thank you.
Any questions for CAO Henderson?
I just want to say I think it looks great.
Yes, and our communications, Devaney, actually really spearheaded this one as well. So want to thank her for all the hard work she put together on this one.
That's fantastic.
So this is all done in-house?
Yes, all done in-house.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I would echo those comments. A phenomenal job. I do have one small potential change to ask council. The quote on page 84 that's kind of being highlighted out of the Reeves report. I'm just wondering if council would consider just taking the first sentence out of the second paragraph rather than what's recommended. 2021 was a year of economic recovery, strategic investment in infrastructure, investment attraction, and sustainability, all while focusing on fiscal efficiency. I don't know if...
So just remove that sentence?
No, just, so on the left-hand side in the, like the quote that's like highlighted, that currently reads, during the pandemic, unique challenges arose that inevitably inspired council to listen, learn, change, and grow. I was just wondering if we could change that to the first, like just pull the first sentence out of that second paragraph.
Okay.
And it's not like a hill to die on. It is done phenomenally. I just kind of liked that better to highlight personally myself, but.
I like it because it sounds like the other saying that we finally are now going to listen and learn. But I do like that. Better.
If we're in agreement, we could contemplate a motion to approve with that amendment. There's a recommended motion at the top of page 77. Sorry, Councillor Lawerson. I was trying to find my page.
That's okay. Just, I'm not 100% clear what, so are you talking that you want the call-out box to the left changed to the words that start 2021 was a year of? Okay.
Yep, just that, just a small.
Just replace that quote.
Any other questions? Council's wishes?
I'll move that council approve the 2021 annual report with the amendment as discussed and direct administration to publish and distribute the report for information.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. We'll move to 4.13, Human Resources Policy 6.27.
Yes, good morning, Council. Brian from Administration again. This policy, the vacation/pay policy, we're just making one small minor amendment just to provide clarity to staff. So it's on the, just under that table, under the note. So the amendment is made in green. So all we're really trying to do is just clarify that vacation entitlement is based on an employee's full-time anniversary date of employment, not the calendar year. So what that does is it applies to seasonal staff that start. So say a seasonal employee has been working at the county for 5 years. 5 years and they start full-time employment. So then they would start at 3 weeks instead of 4. And we did pull other municipalities. That's kind of the common practice that we have as well.
Council's wishes.
So down below it says, the other one was employees must use their annual vacation. What was it before? May? It was in green as well. So I'm assuming that's changed.
Oh, sorry about that. Yes, that's another policy or amendment as well. So we're definitely just encouraging people to take that vacation when they do accrue it. Sorry, I just have to find that exact spot. Employees must. So yeah, so what I think that was just a small contextual amendment that we're just going to put in there. We definitely encourage everyone to take their vacation time. I think previously, and it's not so much of an issue now at the county, but we've run into situations where employees just don't take their vacation. So then it builds up, it becomes a bigger liability for the county, like on our financial statements. So what we end up doing is we just encourage them to take it.
Does that include a buyout if they want, or no? It has to take time.
No, we say must. And the reason why must and no option for a buyout is that we do want people to take their vacation, be rested, enjoy time outside of work and stuff like that. If we had a position where someone couldn't take vacation, then we probably have to hire another person. That would have to come back to council, of course, but.
Yeah, and the original policy just didn't It just said employees use their annual vacation entitled. So it just didn't say must.
It's kind of a double-edged sword because some people that go on call accrue a lot of time if they have a bad season, and then, you know, they might get time in lieu. So I guess their vacation time is different than time in lieu then?
Yes. So our time in lieu program, we currently have a cap of 30 hours. And that's just something that employees cannot go past 30 hours. And that was actually a control that we implemented, I'm going to say about 2 years ago, and just to ensure that people can't, you know, work an extra 200 hours, bank it up, and then again, have the abuse of that system or something like that, or people not taking the time off. It's an optional program that the county implements for extra time and to have a half-hour lunch break instead of an hour lunch. So,
Okay, thanks.
There's a little flexibility just under procedure under A, just that they shall take their vacation entitlement by the end of the following calendar year. So there's that little bit of flexibility. I think it is prudent because, as CEO Henderson said, it can become a liability if it gets built up significantly, and just for work-life balance and all the pieces pointed out in the policy, I think it is important. So, any other questions or discussion? Council's wishes.
I'll move that Wheatland County Council approve amendments to Human Resource Policy 6.2.7 vacations/pay.
Questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. 4.14.
Yes, good morning, Council. So Brian again from Administration. This is just to ratify a letter that has already been sent out to the town of Drumheller. It's just a letter of support for a flood mitigation project.
Council's wishes.
Just a question.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. So we get these letters of support from time to time for the municipalities. Would that in any way defer us from getting funding by offering support to another municipality? Would that put us in a different priority list?
Not to my knowledge. I think letters of support are fairly common. If someone's opposed to the project, I think that's different. But if we generally support the project, I think it's a good thing. I think there have been instances, you know, other municipalities where they support things that, I think there's an example of an ICF up north that there's a letter of support done that kind of came back previously that, you know, they had to do some extra funding for, I think it was a daycare or something, or childcare services or something like that. But in this instance, it's just flood mitigation. And yeah, I think that's all I have.
Well, flood mitigation is extremely expensive. That's why, with the spring being is the way it is, I know Calgary's worried about things in the future too, recent futures.
And
it's a lot of money when you're talking flood mitigation.
definitely something that we'll follow and just see how that plays out in ICFs and that kind of thing as well. If I hear anything further to what CEO Henderson said, we'll certainly share it with council. Good question. Council's wishes.
I move that Council ratify the letter of support to the Honourable Nate Horner for the town of Drumheller's request for additional grant funding for the flood mitigation project.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. We'll move to 4.21, Corporate and Financial Services Report.
Good morning, Council. Tracy from Administration. I'm here to present the latest updates from the Corporate and Financial Services Department. Many of the items in the report I have informed Council on at previous meetings, so I'll just provide the latest updates. Under our digital transformation project, so this is a project of moving from physical to digital record keeping. The project roadmap is being finalized. Revised structures and procedures are being developed for the new DigiVault, we're calling it so far. We'll see if staff agree with that. And that's basically where all our digital records will be stored. We had information gathering sessions yesterday with People Services, Payroll, Communications, and Information Services. A brand new information management policy is under review, and we will send that to the policy committee and then to council for approval. Software has been loaded to scanner printers, and this will allow staff to be able to scan documents directly into the DigiVault rather than an email, and so it'll increase efficiencies and improve information management standards. A public portal is being developed for organized and searchable file repository of public-facing documents. So we hope to improve upon our customer services and making it easier for public to find documents. A new plotter and scanner were purchased, renewing the life cycle of 2 items. And then lastly, the south-facing side of range roads and highway signs were ordered and installed in 2020. Both sides of township road signs were replaced in 2021, and the other side, north, are being ordered for replacements this year. These set of signs are the last of the faded sign replacements. Any questions?
Any questions? If not, a motion to accept the report as information.
I'll make the motion that council accepts the May 2022 Corporate Financial Services Report as information.
Deputy Reeve Clausen has moved. Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move to 4.22. Good morning.
Good morning, Council. Nikki from Administration. I have 2 resolutions put forward to Council this morning. The first one, Administration has received a request from a business to waive the late filing penalties for joining the tax installment payment program after January 1st of this year, since they are current on their taxes. The second resolution is that Administration is requesting that Council will give direction to amend the tax installment payment program bylaw to include the waiving of these late filing penalties on a go-forward basis. So historically, and you'll see in your package, there's a listing of the roles that are being requested to have the late filing penalty waived. I've also attached bylaw 2021-07 in your package. You'll see in section 3, letter D of that bylaw, it says that ratepayers that wish to join the tax installment payment program must pay a late filing penalty for joining after January 1 and before June 30th of the current year. So specifically, the wording says the taxpayer can join the TIP program anytime, provided that they pay a late filing penalty of 0.42% per month, which is 5% annually divided by 12 months, for each month not enrolled in the program prior to June 30th. So in our preliminary research, Administration has found that the late filing penalty is a deterrent for ratepayers to join the TIP program. Additionally, in reviewing other surrounding municipalities, late penalties are not typically applied if a ratepayer joins after January 1st, as long as the ratepayer is in a good standing on their taxes, and as long as they join the TIP program before the due date. So effectively removing the late filing penalty would act as an incentive for residents to join the TIP program and remain on the program moving forward. The only current negative impact that Administration has identified is that some ratepayers may choose to join or exit the TIP program over the course of the year to benefit from the improved cash flow. So exit the program at the end of the year, join in May, and not have to make those payments. So if Council agrees with the preliminary research, we recommend that Council waive the fee for this business and direct Administration to bring this bylaw back to Council with amendments. Administration is also seeking direction to amend the bylaw and include wording or criteria to mitigate the above noted issue, while also removing barriers for ratepayers to join the TIP program. Open to any questions that you might have.
Any questions?
I like the TIP program because it gives cash flow to municipalities, and that's why it was invented, I think. And just for clarity, so if someone joins and then they default or they jump out, can they join back in again the next year, or that's their one-time offering of the program. I just don't want someone abusing the system to try to benefit themselves.
Right, through the REIV, yes, they can come back onto the program as long as they get up to date on their taxes and pay the amount owing in full.
Bottom of page 122 does say they'll create policy to prevent the gaming of it too, so definitely key. I could see this being, well, I guess we'll see whatever comes forward. I appreciated that administration identified that risk, and I think we can mitigate that through the policy. We will have the advantage in years going forward of, like you said, having that cash flow early in the year prior to the tax deadline. So there is some benefit to the municipality that way, which obviously is balanced out by not having all of it. So, any other questions?
So this, you're asking that we waive this late filing penalty of $115,136.27. Do they not owe us this money?
Through the REIV, it is owing at this time per the bylaw, because the bylaw is requiring the late filing penalty of 0.42% on the current taxes that are due June 30th. So they do have to catch up on the tip payment up until this time. So they're essentially late.
And maybe just to provide a little bit of clarity as well.
Yeah.
So technically at this point, this penalty is not it's not active. It hasn't been implemented because the company with the roll numbers have not actually joined TIP. I think if we denied the request, they probably just wouldn't join TIP and they'd probably just pay their taxes in full. So this is just kind of a mechanism to get them onto the TIP program, waive the penalty at this point in time, but then also to amend the bylaw so other companies can get on, or people.
Okay, so just a point of clarification then. So the ones that are asking for the waiver, they paid their taxes on before June 30th of 2021. So they're not actually in default of their taxes until June 30th of this year, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, now it makes much more sense.
They have no outstanding fees or taxes.
Right.
And they have no outstanding taxes is the point of clarification.
So basically, because of the way this bylaw is written, it's saying they're owing, but they don't really. Because they could pay the full amount June 30th, just like the rest. Well, right. Some of the rest of us do, and it would be fine.
That's correct.
Gotcha.
Councillor Baker.
I agree with changing it. Is this just all one company? Will this changing the bylaw affect other companies?
Through the REIV, this particular is one company that's making this request. It is substantial, but there have been other customers or ratepayers that have come forward and taken issue with the late filing penalty, as it is a deterrent for them to enter onto the program, especially if they've just purchased a home in May or April. It's not their fault that they're late. So there's a bit of a mental struggle there with being penalized.
So if we approve this, will there be other companies or other residents coming to us for the same?
That is correct. So the hope is that you'll approve Resolution 1, and then going forward, on Resolution 2, we'll bring back the bylaw to cover everyone else that would like that. Tracy, do you want to say anything else? Are you okay?
Just to be clear, if we make changes to the bylaw, it would be effective the date that council approved the bylaw. Like, it wouldn't be going into the past, it would be from that date forward, these changes are effective.
Okay.
If that's, I just want to be clear.
If we have charged other people, will they have the ability to come back for that refund too? No.
Is it possible to have the bylaw brought back for June 21st, so there would be that time frame between June 21st and the 30th where people could apply to the TIP program under the new bylaw and not owe the penalty? And then that would make it a level playing ground, or level.
So you're saying bring it back to the next council meeting?
If possible. I know that's a tight time frame, but
I think it's possible. Yeah.
Because then that would make it possible for other people.
That's what I was
It's not a long time frame to apply. but they could apply if it passed on June 21st. And the bylaw came, like we would need all 3 readings and then it could come in. Any other questions or discussion? Yes.
So just one more question, because it's June 7th today. So they owe these taxes at the end of the month anyway, right? And I'm kind of failing to understand why they don't just pay their taxes and join TIP for starting next year.
Through the REIV, they do, I think the hope is that if they can enter into the TIP program, they wouldn't have to pay the full current year's taxes in full on June 30th. They could enter into the TIP program and make 1/6 of, they have 6 months left in the year, so their current taxes would be divided by 6. So it's improved cash flow for them. They don't have to pay the entire year's current taxes on June 30th. They can start with their first payment in July.
The advantage I've heard from other municipalities to ratepayers, whether it be corporate or residential, often they don't think about this. I've heard this from ratepayers until they get their tax bill in June. But at that point, then they would already have this penalty, so then they don't enter into the TIP program. They come in, they pay their taxes, they don't think about their taxes for another year, and I realize we're not responsible for helping people, schedule their lives. But it is beneficial, and it gets them onto it when they're thinking about it, when they have the paper in their hand. And then on years going forward, it just can make it, obviously, as you referenced, the cash flow piece, but also just the regular payments for people. And I've talked to residents who have expressed like, oh, that penalty, like there's no way I'm going on that TIP program. And I'm like, well, go on it in January or whatever the date is, but then they just don't think of it. So, and I know administration has had complaints because I've gotten phone calls after administration has had complaints, so.
If I can also mention is that other municipalities in our research don't levy the penalty as well for ratepayers. So it is like an incentive to enter into the program, and then once they're on, they're on.
Exactly.
I'll move that council waives the late filing penalty to join the tax incentive program.
Tax
installment payment program in the amount of $115,136.27 for the roll numbers attached to the June 7th, 2022 request for decision.
Any questions or discussion?
Just another point of clarification. So if we do this, so this company the taxes would be due June 30th, correct?
That is
if we put them into the TIP program, then instead of having to pay on June 30th, we've now given them 6 months beyond the tax deadline. So we're actually giving them money.
Through the REIV, that is correct. It is an extension, effectively, and in our preliminary research, we found that other municipalities operate the same. Like I said, it is a bit of an incentive to enter into the program. You do get a little bit more time. And I do have 2 examples of bylaws that have wording that stipulates that they're exempt from the wording of the bylaw or the enforcement of the penalty if they are currently on the TIP program. So that is a wording that we can also incorporate in the bylaw when we bring it forward.
Any other questions?
I would anticipate this would be a large monthly payment, probably similar to what the penalty would be. So, I like it that it gets these bigger rolls on a monthly payment, and then if they fail that, they go right back to square one. It's an incentive to do it. There is definitely a incentive here that we're giving out, but so I'll support it.
Any other questions or discussion? All in favor? Oh, sorry.
Just one question to administration. You would prefer that every taxpayer be on a TIP program, right?
It definitely increases the stability for cash flow for the county. That's for sure. And then maybe just one point of clarification as well. If someone does join in TIPS in, say, June, it would be a benefit of, say, half of a year. And then in the future, it would benefit the county because the money's coming in from, evenly throughout the year. So it would just kind of be a 1-year benefit, and hopefully they stay on, and the cash flow just stays consistent kind of in the future. because they paid January 1st, February 1st, kind of in 2023, if that makes sense.
Any other questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you for
I just
bringing.
don't quite understand it enough. It seems to me like we're giving something away here. Like, what's stopping someone from going, okay, June, I'm going to join TIPS, and then as soon as they pay up for this year, then next year they do the same thing and they get 6 months free taxes every year.
That's what administration has identified at the bottom of 122.
The next resolution covers that.
The last sentence, any proposed amendment to the bylaw would include wording or criteria to mitigate this issue. So that will need to be addressed within the policy 100%.
Yeah, it's just going to have to be really crystal clear, because otherwise it's setting a really bad precedent here. That was really the only reason I didn't vote for it, because I don't quite see how that's coming out yet.
Yeah, the advantage is clearly here for people the first year that they enroll, and then it will be our responsibility to ensure that the policy mitigates creating that advantage repeatedly.
Exactly.
Council's wishes for the second resolution.
I'll move that council direct administration to amend bylaw 2021-07, section 3, tax installment payment program, and propose other alternatives to the late filing penalty.
Councillor Laprise has moved. Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you for bringing that forward. We'll move to 4.31.
Good morning, Council. Matt from Administration here to present the Community and Development Services May 2022 update. Just some brief salient points for Council, and it's been discussed earlier this morning. The Strathmore Wheatland Chamber of Commerce, obviously our Economic Development Officer, is working closely with the Chamber and was there, provided some excellent updates administratively, so we're very proud of that work with respect to that, and some exceptional economic development work moving forward coming this summer, so we're looking forward to working with Council on some of those announcements. Moving forward on page 134 of the agenda package, we have some photos with respect to the Carsland Fire Hall open house that was held on May the 14th. I just want to expressly thank the fire services team, particularly Mike Borgon, Thomas Jukes, and Cindy Ramsey for all their assistance in organizing this event. I think it was about between 300 to 400 were circulating throughout the afternoon, coming to that open house, seeing the new community space, the new fire hall. Special opening ceremony was held, so we're very proud of that. Just want to make note that, of course, our Deputy Chief Thomas Jukes resigned for another opportunity, and we're sad to see him leave, but happy and excited for his new opportunity, and we're actively recruiting for that. With one loss comes another gain. With respect to planning, development, and safety codes, Rachel Hanson-Beaton is our new planning technician, so we welcome her to the planning and development side. She was previously the accounting assistant in the Corp and Fin department. So Rachel's done transition. She'll be assisting Suzanne in a lot of the development permits and the activity that we're seeing ramp up in that respect. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Any questions for Deputy CAO Boscario?
No, I just want to say that you remind me the best part about that day was having to push the fire truck into the hall. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, and we would definitely echo your thanks to the whole team that brought that together. And I'll just add on as well the firefighters and the volunteers that made the day happen too. Don already said it, but huge community support and the work that was done in the county. Also, please thank Deputy Jukes for his service to the county, and we wish him well. I know it's an excellent opportunity and we'll miss him, but we've come a long ways in our fire service, and I think I'm okay speaking for council saying that we're grateful for that work that's been done. So I do have two questions. Page 131, your third last bullet point, work has been started on the creation of a Wheatland County business directory using publicly available information on the internet. I know we have raised this question with previous council around business licensing, and there's certainly two sides to the coin, very similar to the discussion we were having around the hens this morning. I in no way am contemplating like a business license or a discussion around a business license to generate money or to, you know, an additional fee. But I am hearing more and more rural municipal elected officials discussing some of the benefits of a business license, which I think this points to one of those benefits. I don't have a list of businesses in Wheatland that I can access and purposefully support. We have to sort of seek those out and look for them. Our economic development and investment attraction team does not have sort of a list when they're looking for synergy. Say you're looking at a manufacturing facility, we may, like through another department, be aware of development permits or that type of thing that have come through. But those are not always representative of sort of active current businesses. I'm just floating it as something, if there's any appetite from council, we could put it on a committee of the whole to discuss, or I can drop it if it's not if there's no other sort of interest in that conversation. Councillor Baker.
I like the idea about the business license because we do need to know what business is out there. But instead of charging, I would like to have some kind of other benefit that that business would have from it so that people don't say it's a money grab for us.
Yeah. We have had an example as well. I know of 2 businesses that have struggled either with provincial licensing or with transportation issues like couriers, that type of thing, that to get a rate or insurance, or I think one was it was a provincial licensing. I won't go into the details, but they couldn't get that without a business license. So I think they kind of finagled it so they could use a development permit number and like a copy of that, please.
And if I may, Madam Reeve, I do believe we brought a report last term. I think it was a committee of the whole, and we discussed those complexities with respect to development permit license versus a business license. And of course, our development officer, we go through and we work with businesses to get those. So we capture it under a development permit. But what we were noticing was, especially businesses that were looking to do something interprovincial, interjurisdictional, even cross federal borders, sometimes they needed a business license, and we weren't able to provide that for them. So there was that debate as well. At that point in time, we weren't seeing a lot of uptake with respect to those kind of the magnitude of those businesses. So we kind of parked it. It would be a program in terms of tracking administrative work implementation that could take some time. Certainly we can bring it back for clarification and a broader discussion at a future committee of the whole, if that's council's wish. And we can kind of do that background work. I know we've done some previous work with respect to that, but we can certainly broaden that research and bring something back for council if that's council's appetite to discuss at a committee of the whole.
Not necessarily opposed to it, but I mean, I've had a business around for a long time, and you have to be, what are the benefits to that business to be part of it? Is it triggering inspection of your property and all that kind of stuff? Because if that's the case, 90% of the guys will say, don't want it.
Yeah, the parameters would have to be very, very clear.
And as far as a business goes, if I want to advertise, I can advertise. I can do Facebook advertising. I can do stuff. Local municipalities and jurisdictions can help for sure. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but targeted customers, business as a whole, you know, is everybody has a different need. So I found myself, I don't advertise, I do more word of mouth, because when I advertise, I end up on the phone telling lots of people stuff that I don't do. More than what I can, if they seek me out, I can provide the service better. That works for me, not necessarily for all businesses.
Yeah,
So,
of course. And every business type is going to be different. I even thought about like potentially having it be voluntary, like it wouldn't necessarily even have to be mandatory. There is also the subset of businesses of home-based business, type 1, and I always have to look type 2. I can't remember if they require a development permit. There's certain criteria where you do not require a development permit, and it has created challenges. So it sounds like there may be just an appetite. I don't want to like sidetrack the meeting, but if there is some appetite just to have the discussion, perhaps we could direct administration to bring back some further information for our consideration. Committee of the whole might be good again. If council we could have a motion for that if council wishes.
Well, just
Councillor Eichert.
Just sort of along the lines of Councillor Clausen, could we not, and this would be probably flashed out, but if the business license could it not be sort of a no-fee thing, just to gather the information? We put it in the budget for economic development in order for them, and we pay out of the, because I understand like where you're coming from, but it's also like it is so difficult to figure out for a business whether or not they want, and whether or not you want, it's another layer of, do you want the government, like Scott says, do you want the government looking over your properties and all this kind of stuff? Like, but whereupon if it's a free thing, and you understand that it's sort of like using Facebook, right? It's free, but there are going to be, you end up being, you understand that they're selling your information, right? And this is the way I would be okay with going forward with it. So.
Yeah, and to Councillor Eichert's point through the Reeve to Council, I think those are considerations that need to be fleshed out in a clarification report to Committee of the Whole. In terms of, for example, to your point, Councillor Eichert, the rollout, how will that look? What does an execution plan look like for a business license program at the county? For a voluntary program, for a mandatory program, how does that work? Do existing businesses, does the county come and indicate that you have to get a business license? You shall. How does it look? So I think those are elements of consideration that staff have to capture in a fulsome report should we move forward with this as a background research report for Committee of the Whole.
Federally, everybody knows the federal government knows what every business is because there's a GST number attached to any business that makes over $32,000 a year. Has to be. So they all know where it is. There is that gap between local government and federal government, but it's also the federal government wants to know so they can take your money or you collect on their behalf, which is fine. But that information is out there, and that's always been the fear of a business owner is, well, what do you need that for? What are you doing for me? And you got to remember, well over half the business in this country is supported by businesses 10 employees and under. And that is truth, and it's scary as a business owner because the larger governments are looking at, they don't even consider you. They don't care.
Yeah, and this may be a service, depending on what council decides, it could actually be a service under our investment attraction strategy, just like one prong for those smaller businesses, if there are advantages for them. I honestly, what I was envisioning is, you have a manufacturer come in and they reach out to, our investment attraction or economic development officer, and they're saying, do you know anybody who could build this piece? I'd rather not import it if I don't have to. And like, you can dig and find it, but if you had a directory where you could just, oh yeah, under manufacturing we have, these businesses, maybe they could pivot and start creating the widget that you need to create your bigger widget. I have no idea.
And I know for things like the Chamber of Commerce, when we're looking at business excellence awards and involvement in the trade show, I mean, we had to think to ourselves, well, who do we know? But I don't know all the businesses across the county, that's for sure. So it would have been like a great benefit to us and to anybody that chose to participate in it, either of those, that helps them too. So I think for sure there could be benefits to a company being on having a license and being available to others to search.
Yeah, and I could definitely see it being done in collaboration with the chamber. I think there could be some synergies there for sure. Perhaps just a motion to direct administration to bring it back just for further discussion or information.
I'll make a motion that council direct administration to bring back information on creating a potential business license process.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor?
Should it be to a council meeting or to a committee of the whole?
I think it could come to the committee of the whole first, just for some kind of contextual information, and then.
Yeah.
Any other questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Any other questions or discussion for CAO Henderson, or Deputy CAO Boscario.
I think you said you had a couple.
I do, and I'm just finding the other one, but if somebody has something in between, I do know what it is here. Does anyone have anything? Okay. I noted the hydrogen expert RFP was noted to be reposted and closed on May 27th. Do we have a timeline for that coming back?
Absolutely. So just to note to council, we have finished our evaluation and we will contact the successful contractor this week, and we're just reviewing draft contracts. So we're quite excited about that moving forward.
Excellent. Thank you. Any other questions or discussion?
Can't wait to see the signs.
We have a motion to accept.
We need one still.
Anyone? I'll make the motion that council accepts the May 2022 Community and Development Services Report as information.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. We'll move to 4.32, appointment of the Deputy Director of Emergency Management.
Matt from administration again, council. On page 154 of your agenda package is just a housekeeping item with the resignation of our deputy chief. We need to appoint, as per the bylaw in the package, Deputy Director of Emergency Management. So the resolution stipulates that Senior Peace Officer Perman will be appointed as the Deputy Director of Emergency Management in accordance with bylaw 2019-24. With the hiring of a new deputy chief, we'll be bringing a housekeeping report back just to swap that out. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Council's wishes?
I'll move that council approve the appointment of the senior peace officer as the Deputy Director of Emergency Management in accordance with bylaw 2019-24.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. We'll move to 4.33. Good morning.
Good morning, Council. I'm Suzanne Hayes, Development Officer with Wheatland County. This application is for a variance to the side and front yard setbacks. The development permit number is DP 2022-100. So if we go to the appendix, page 170 of the agenda package, you can see the location plan within the Lakes of Muirfield. It is directly adjacent to the water reservoir lot with the utility building there. Also on page 170, we have the circulation area circulated to adjacent landowners +1. And we did not receive any responses from the circulation to surrounding landowners. We did receive one response from the Homeowners Association who said they were in favor of the development permits. And the internal file review had no concerns. Pages 171, 172, we have the site plan and aerial photos. So you can see that on this side yard, they are requesting to be 1.04 meters from the side property line, and the setback should be 1.22. And on the front, they are requesting to be 6.05, and it's supposed to be 6.10. So it's just a narrow lot, and they're trying to situate a duplex across the two lots. So in order to accommodate it, they had to request these variances. And on pages 172 and 173, we just have some illustrations of the proposed dwelling semi-detached. Some considerations. Property adjacent to the dwelling, as I've said, is the lot for the reservoir and the utility building, so no dwellings will ever be constructed on that side. And no concerns were raised from the Homeowners Association, the surrounding landowners, or the internal circulation. On page 164 of the agenda package, we have staff's recommendation to approve the application with the conditions as noted. And on page 167, we have council's 3 standard options: to approve, to refuse the recommendation, or to accept the recommendation, or to provide an alternative. And that concludes my presentation. Please let me know if you have questions.
Any questions regarding the development permit?
So just a question, and I'm not 100% sure why, but so this is a direct control district,
That is correct.
So is that why it's coming here and not to the MPC?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
that explains it.
Any other questions?
I'll make the motion that council approve DP 2022-100 for a semi-detached dwelling with 2 variants subject to the conditions presented on page 164.
Deputy Reeve Clausen has moved.
Read them, I will.
I think we're okay there in the package. Any questions or discussion?
I have a question to administration, but it doesn't entail this lot. I just want to know, because if you go to page 170, the bottom figure, opposite of where the star is, there's a retaining wall that's supposedly, I'm just trying to figure out how is the county coming with that retaining wall that is going, I mean, it sort of starts, it goes for the first 3 or 4 places and then it's all, so have we, has administration come up with a solution is my question, because some of those houses in the back there are like, it's a very steep, like it's not, like it's a very steep walking off this, so there has to be some sort of retaining wall. So I'm just trying to, this came through, I don't know, was it last year? I think we did a walkthrough on this. I'm just trying to figure out whether or not how that is progressing and whether or not we've got a solution to that.
I can answer that through the Reeve. It is something that was reviewed. It came up last year just in terms of, I think, if I recall correctly, around the topic of sellability of the lots. All of those lots currently are sold now, and so we stopped looking at that in that they are private lots now, and there were some lots at the time that weren't sold, but then adjacent lots were, and the complication of reviewing that wall was there. And so now that they're all sold, as administration, we felt that became a moot point at that time, and didn't pursue the investigating and installation of a retaining wall at that point.
And just to further that, there'll be a fulsome discussion at the Committee of the Whole with respect to Lakes of Muirfield and being a land developer, and all the elements that are required for being a land developer should we wish to expand the services and the infrastructure and the rest, just with respect to obviously the land sales, the uptake and interest of purchasing lots, and how that looks for the county moving forward. So a lot of elements to consider for council at the next Committee of the Whole.
So this is being brought forward at the next Committee of the Whole meeting?
Yeah, infrastructure, certainly service expansion and the costs and what that looks like should be discussed at the next Committee of the Whole for council.
Because I'm absolutely terrified that if we leave this up to the individual lot owner that I can put a plywood retaining wall up, and the guy beside me puts a wood or a concrete block retaining wall up. We have to set some sort of a standard there, because that is actually going to be that there's a pathway alongside the canal there, right? I mean, it's a beautiful walking area, and if we've left this up to each individual homeowner, you're going to have this thing's going to look like a ghetto in a week, because if I have to put up a retaining wall in order to maximize my yard space. And if I can get away with putting it up using, I don't need railway ties even. I don't even know if that's accessible or acceptable. Like, I think we have to, it's good that, because there has to be standards set on this, else, I mean, we would not allow a developer to do this, but yet we're the developer and we're allowing it to happen. Like, we have to tread a very straight line here at being developer in this, and this is one of the many things that we're going to come up with this, trying to be our own developer in a community. So
does that become a homeowners association responsibility, I wonder? I don't know. No, it's a developer.
Okay. Let's have administration review it, and when we're addressing the other infrastructure issues there, and perhaps in consultation with the homeowners association, we can address that specific issue. I think it's excellent. Obviously, our responsibilities are to bring anything to the attention of council that could have an impact, and obviously it's a beautiful community. We want it to stay that way. So I I think administration has taken notes and will review that and bring it back for us, perhaps with some future recommendations. Any other questions regarding DP 2022-100? I know we have a motion on the floor. Shanna, did we vote? No. Okay. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Let's move to 4.41.
Good morning, Council. Brad Bullock presenting from administration, presenting the General Manager report for the Transportation and Agriculture team for the month of May. Just a few points to mention that aren't on the report that have come up recently that may be of Council's interest. Just in terms of the Redland servicing study that is being completed by administration at Council's direction. We're currently obtaining quotes to do the preliminary engineering and costing of that initiative. And once we have those, we'll continue on to book public information or public consultation sessions when we've got a little more information to provide to the community residents. Also, just by nature of the project, it does require the engineering review for the system that goes in, just in terms of the Alberta Act that governs that work. And so we're just covering our basis there as well. The Highway 817 project near Speargrass, AT has got information back to administration. The planned start date for that project is June 13th. And they are projecting an end date about November 30th of this year as well. The Bridge 11 information sessions, so Drumheller and their replacement of Bridge 11, they are holding 2 information sessions. One of those will be held in Wheatland County in Dallam, and one will be held within Drumheller at Wayne. The one in Wheatland County will be held June 28th at 6 p.m. at the Dallam Community Center. And Wheatland County Administration is assisting Drumheller in organizing that event. The Township 272 slide repair is underway. Actually, construction on that started last week, a little bit earlier than anticipated. And the Range Road 205 construction is also underway. Under vehicles and equipment, a note, a motor grader was ordered January 2022 under the capital project for this year. We did recently receive notification that the supply of that is delayed, actually until the first quarter of 2023. And so we don't expect to get that until the beginning of 2023, and we'll carry that budget over for the 2023 budget when it comes to that time. Moving on to page 175, road graveling will be commencing in Division 3 and 4 through June. Pothole patching on hard service roads and hamlets have been completed this year. Calcium spring order deadline was May 20th, and applications are now underway for the gravel roads. And gravel sales will be held June 15th and 16th at the Goldsmith pit near Cluny. Under the utilities for operations, the Gleason pump house pumps have arrived and are installed and are now commissioned as of last week. So that wraps up the construction portion of that project. And so those are commissioned and operational. A small leak was detected at the Carsland Lagoon outlet. It was more of a trickle, as I understand, and that has been plugged and is no longer leaking at this point. And we are looking into costs required to replace that valve with a new valve that doesn't leak. The Gleason and Wheatland West Fire Hall painting is complete, as well as the painting of the Gleason water treatment plant. In the hamlets, the street sweeping has been completed in all hamlets and at the administration building. And cleanup of winter plowing is completed, including the topsoiling and seeding in some areas as required. Moving on to page 177 now. Just a summary again of the lot sales in Murfield. We can see that all lots have sold. Some of the lots are still pending final closure of those sales. I believe most of those closures, if not all, are expected by the end of June, assuming everything goes as anticipated. On page 178, for under agriculture and environment, there's a list there. I will mention a few. So transfer sites and hamlets will be inspected for weeds in June, and spraying will occur if needed. I understand that some locations have been identified and the spraying will commence shortly. The ASB, capital equipment items, have arrived, some of them. So there's a list in the report of which ones have arrived, and then a list below that on page 178 of the 3 items we're still waiting for. And that concludes my report to council. Of course, at the end of the report, there's a more detailed list of tables of all of the activities that Public Works and the Agriculture Department are involved with, and I'm here for any questions.
Any questions regarding transportation and agriculture? Councillor Aykroyd.
I have just one question. It's regarding the phasing out of chemical jugs in 2024. Is there going to do we have a backup plan? Like, is there going to be a backup plan? Because I don't know. Like, the farmers need a place to put these jugs, and they're asking, I believe, the retailers now to supply that. So, are we looking into making sure that there is going to be a backup plan for this?
Sorry, through the REBA backup plan in terms of if the retailers...
Yeah, like there's, we've got a system that works right now. So we're going to do this new system, and we're just going to wipe. I don't think we can just wipe our hands of the system. I think we should have a backup plan, because like the farmers are going to have all these chemical jugs, and if the retail operations don't do what they're supposed to do, then this plan isn't going to work. So I would like administration to sort of keep that in the back of their minds, that this is something that they've been putting like they've been dumping chemicals, empty jugs for 20 years, 25 years. So it's not something that's going to change overnight, right? So
understood. Through the REBA, I don't believe we have looked into that just now. I can ask some questions with my team and get some more information and bring it back to council if that's what's desired.
Deputy Ruth Clausen.
Just a suggestion, maybe to say, just to monitor and see if we're getting illegal dumping of stuff, or the red flags coming up. You can't assume the worst of maybe they're going to do a good job, maybe they're not.
I wonder if 2023 is a transition year where the retailers are meant to start accepting them. And so we're leaving our waste transfer sites open at the same time. And then in 2024, we shut and they're already been doing it. I'm not sure if that's how it's working. I thought it might be, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, and I've been on some of the extended producer responsibility engagement, and nothing is finalized. They're still in the engagement process, but it is relatively quick that the regulation will be out. So it will be that EPR regulation from GOA that will, there may be partnerships with municipalities or that type of thing as EPR is rolled out. It's just some of the financial responsibilities. Like, I don't think we'll actually necessarily be seeing specific producers like responsible for collection of waste, but they'll be financially responsible within sort of managed programs. So, but none of it is finalized from what I understand, but there should be a transition period. Definitely would be worth having some information come back. I know there is still like a priority focus on agricultural recycling, and RMA is actively engaged in that as well. Any other questions regarding transportation and agriculture? I just have one quick question. Bottom of page 174, under waste management, finalizing tender documents to trial on waste pickup services tender should be ready by late May 2022. Just some clarity on that. Is that a waste pickup from the waste transfer sites, or? I'm not sure what it's about.
Thank you for the question, Madam Reeve. I actually had similar questions. This was a point put in from our manager of technical services, so I was going to approach him about it and ask him some questions. So I'll make that a point as well to bring back some additional details to council, just in regards to exactly what that program looks like as far as the trial program goes. Yeah.
That'd be great. Thank you. Any other questions?
I'll move that council accept the general manager of transportation and agricultural May 2022 report as information.
There's a motion on the floor. Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. We have a 12 o'clock appointment for check presentations. Do we feel like we can get through the next couple quickly, or one quick?
I think we have a staff member here for the 245 MRO probably that he'd probably like to do before lunch.
Why don't we do the 245 one if possible? Just rejig the agenda and see if we can get that one done so Cody doesn't have to...
Does anyone from council object? Okay, we will move to 4.43.
Hello, Council. Cody Zimmerman with Administration with the Range Road 245 MRO Capital Project, RFD. Basically, the 245 project is set to have the first lift of MRO put on it in July of this year. It has a budget of $480,000 set. As we know, oil prices have increased substantially over the last year, and with that, the cost of our road oils. We've seen a 64% increase on SC250, which is the oil we use specifically for MRO. There's a table just kind of outlining the cost difference between 2021 and 2022, and so about a $30,000 variance per mile is what we're looking at. So I've kind of put together a couple options for council to consider. The first being I've adjusted the contingency rate a little bit. I went with the $150,000 per mile rate. So we'd be looking for an increase to the budget of $120,000 to complete the project as it sits and is planned today. Option 2 would be to reduce the scope to 2 miles and leave the budget as is. Specifically the first 2 miles to create that hard surface loop up to Township 244. And the third option is to defer the project until 2023, keeping in mind that we don't know what oil prices will do next year, and that it will obviously delay some projects planned for next year as well into the subsequent year. That concludes my report, so I'm here for questions. Thank you.
Any questions?
No question, just comment. I looked through all these and I thought about it a lot, and I know we've had issues with that area, and I'd like to see us go with option 1, just to get it, to show we're gonna do what we said we were going to do. The cost of oil has gone up. I totally understand that. Costs are going up. They may not come down. So I can put that as a motion if you'd like, or we can have more discussion, whatever you prefer.
You can put a motion on the floor and we can debate.
I'll make the motion that council proceed with option 1.
Questions or discussion? Councillor Priest.
I was just thinking that so there's $710,000 we were going to spend on the motor grader. I know it's a different budget line and that kind of thing, but could we move some of that into this 120 we need here to pay for this?
We have funds for this, right, in reserve pay for those funds?
Yeah, so those, that wouldn't be advisable, just because I'd have to look at the funding source, but we definitely would have reserves set aside for this kind of stuff.
Okay. I know what you mean, though. Like, we did see that reduction in that budget. Any other questions or discussion?
Well, I'm just going to say that there's a few MRO roads in my area, and even if we're paying $150,000 a mile, it is money well spent. They're good roads, they're safe roads, and I really like the program. So I still think even at $150,000, $30,000 is an increase. It's still a good deal. So, yeah.
And I just want to extend thanks to administration on this file as well. They've been very proactive in communicating with the ratepayers on that road. For the relatively newer councillors, there was a construction project on this road that had significant challenges and went significantly longer than initially anticipated, and administration has done an excellent job of proactively communicating with ratepayers. And I do agree with Deputy Reeve Clausen that it would be good to see this project finalized as soon as possible, particularly given some of the context around the previous work. Any other questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you for bringing that forward.
Thank you.
Let's break and we will come back for 4.42 after lunch. Now, if council could also review, I circulated a draft CAO performance evaluation. I was remiss. I completely thought I had sent it earlier. I apologize. How long would council like? I'm hoping you might be able to review it at lunchtime and we can approve it during closed session. How long do we need? We have curb check presentations. If we reconvened at 1, is that long enough to do curb check and review? Okay. Okay, we will break and reconvene at 1 o'clock. Thanks, everybody. We'll call the meeting back to order. We will go to agenda item 4.42, Speargrass RV Lot Alarm System Power.
Good afternoon, Council. Brad Bullock presenting from administration. This resolution, or RFD, is a follow-up to previous Council resolution 220518 in regards to a request from the Speargrass Community Association to install a security camera at their RV lot. So administration has investigated this. The proposed system would consist of a 15 amp receptacle installed on the soffit of the water treatment plant close to the tower. A new cable run to the receptacle to the receiver switch at the RV site, and a new camera dish installed on the communications tower. So administration's reviewed the power requirements to run the system, and it was found that it would be very small, such that it is recommended that no fees be charged to the association in association with the power drawn from the water treatment plant's power network. The Community Association has approved the quote to install the power requirements to the plant, so they would be responsible for all costs associated with the installation and operation of the security system, excepting pending council's approval of the electrical consumption costs required to power the system from the water treatment plant's power supply. Maintenance work on the system would also be completed by the Community Association, any future maintenance work, which would need to be coordinated through county staff because it would be installed on county infrastructure. So the last page of the report here shows some images of the water treatment plant and the RV lot, so you can see the water treatment plant with the communication tower. And then in the aerial view, you can see the proximity to the RV lot. And that's my report, and I'm here for any questions.
I'll move that council approve the Speargrass Community Association to install a power receptacle, camera, and internet dish on the Speargrass water treatment plant and communication tower for the operation of their security camera system, with no monthly charges to the Community Association for electrical consumption.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Oh, question?
I was just gonna, so are we basically just saying they can put it on our tower? We're not spending money on this.
That's right. The cost for the installation and operation would be by the Community Association. It will be, so the soffit, for example, would be installed in the water treatment plant. The equipment would be installed on the tower, but aside for the small electrical consumption fees, there wouldn't be any cost to the county for the installation or the operation of the system.
Yeah. So we're already spending enough there.
Sorry, I missed that.
I said we're already spending enough on our hamlets. So I don't think we have to give them stuff, but this doesn't look like it's going to be an impact to us, so that's fine.
Any other questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Thanks for looking into that, and I think it's pragmatic to not, I think there'd be more expense and staff capacity to try and charge for it than, but it's good they brought it forward, and I'm glad we could find a solution.
Thank you.
We will move to 5.1, correspondence. There are several pieces of correspondence. Drumheller Area Health Foundation, 2 pieces of correspondence from Municipal Affairs, some documents from Marigold, Strathmore Youth Justice, and Village of Hussar. Thank you for the regional infrastructure funding. In terms of action, I know the Strathmore Youth Justice included a request to present to council. Scrolling through. I don't know if there's any clarity. I think the Drumheller Health Foundation, that was just for information. Is that right? What's everybody's thoughts on? All right. The Strathmore Youth Justice Committee would like to ensure that the community is aware of the program and the positive impact it can have on all of us. They would like to offer an orientation presentation to our council. Would we like to have administration set that up when they're in touch? I think it's good to raise the profile of that. CAO Henderson, would it be good to have a motion just directing administration to integrate that into a future council agenda?
It would be, yes, if that's council's intent.
Okay, could we have a motion? We'll just deal with some action and then we can accept everything at the end.
I'll make the motion to direct administration. Do you want to respond to them, or do you want to just, if they...
I would just say to coordinate a presentation to council at a future council meeting.
Okay. What she said.
Or something like that.
Yeah, to coordinate them to attend a future council meeting as appropriate.
Perfect. Any questions or discussion? In favor? Motion is carried. I think that was actually the only one that required action.
There was the additional correspondence that was added as well.
Yes. Administration had circulated a letter from the mayors of the Village of Rocky Ford and Standard that we had included as an addition to correspondence. It's a brief letter just indicating receipt of the letters noted above and indicating they would welcome an opportunity to meet with Wheatland County Council to discuss. I have not received any correspondence beyond that. I don't think administration has either.
Maybe we can have the administration set something up.
Council's wishes. I'm not personally comfortable with that. We had correspondence from our legal counsel that had gone to the villages, and my preference would be to wait until that's been addressed prior to meeting with our councils, just based on previously, if we want to discuss it in depth, particularly the legal counsel advice, we may want to consider going into closed session. I don't feel like I need to at this point, unless we want to discuss that further, but my preference would be to wait for a response from the demand letter that addresses what legal counsel had outlined in that. But that's just my own personal preference.
I believe that's the course of action that we were kind of discussed prior. I appreciate this letter, I understand, but I think there are some things that should be done prior to that.
Councillor Larson?
Well, I'm going to put kind of the same perspective on it I had last time. And if you look at Mr. McIver's letter, he's basically saying you guys need to get together and work this out. So by not agreeing to it, that kind of makes us look like we don't want to play nice in the sandbox. They've offered what I thought we should offer them the first time, so I would support meeting with them.
I'm a little undecided, I guess.
For me, Minister McIver outlined several processes that boards and commissions can go through when there are challenges. All of those processes were ignored by the villages of Rockyford and Standard prior to the letter they issued to our council. Further, the letter outlines a process where boards and municipal members can apply for an ACP mediation and cooperative processes grant to hire a neutral third party to assist, like with working together. It goes on. That was also ignored, although it was identified in the letter from the villages. They themselves had identified that they were, I won't even attempt to paraphrase, but that was circumvented by the villages when they sent the letter to our council. Yeah, I stand by my position. All of this, we keep talking about taking the high road and intermunicipal relations. We would not be having this conversation if the villages had contemplated those prior to sending the letter to our council.
I believe we should wait until we have a response to our demand letter and this meeting on hold for the time being.
Yeah, and I guess I'll reiterate, I don't know if I've said it publicly before, but I'm fully committed to meeting and working together once we have a response to that letter and we know how we should proceed legally. Definitely committed to regional collaboration and work to rebuild relationships and collaboration, but that's built on a foundation that I think was seriously damaged by the letter sent by the villages. So I know we only control our response, and that letter was sent, but at this point, I'm committed to the action that we already committed to in our previous resolution. Again, to be clear, that's my own personal position.
And for me, I don't think there's anything that's critically on any of the boards. Everything's running. It has funding. They're operational. We're not, like, everything's working. There may be some differences of opinion on that, but I think there's nothing critical happening right at the moment that requires, other than a difference of opinion on some things. But being that I'm on one of the boards that's mentioned, I'm kind of leery about what I say, but that's my opinion. I think everything's okay, so.
I guess I agree with that. I really want to get past this. And so, but I do understand legally, I guess we're waiting for a response and then we can move forward after that. But I'm desperate to get past this.
I would agree with Councillor Priest that legally we should sustain or wait, just wait till that's been dealt with and then move forward with meeting with them. Hopefully soon.
Any other questions or discussion?
So can I make a motion then that council accepts the following items as information as provided in the request for decision, including the letter from the Village of Rockyford and the Village of Standard?
Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Did everybody vote? Yeah. Okay. And move to agenda item 6. I will move us into closed session. We'll just give a minute to transition. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. I'll move council out of closed session. All in favor? Motion is carried. We have motions arising.
I'll move that council authorize an expenditure of up to $50,000 for an environmental consultant to conduct a Phase 2 environmental assessment on the south portion of the site located at Lot 2, Block D, Plan 9911656, as well as additional studies that may arise, including a drilling plan for further assessments.
Any questions or discussion regarding the motion? All in favor? Motion is carried.
I'll move that council authorize the Reeve and Chief Administrative Officer to sign a 2-year lease agreement with the owners of Southwest 222320 West of the 4th for a 20-acre site for the purpose of gravel stockpiling and site reclamation of a county-operated municipal gravel pit, with terms and conditions as presented in the RFD at the rate of $525 per acre per year, effective immediately and expiring December 31, 2023.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried.
Okay. I'll move that council approve a budget of $59,300 and direct administration to proceed with the acquisition of land as negotiated as follows. Township Road 26-1, lying between southwest of 12-26-23 west of 4 and northwest of 1-26-23 west of 4, containing 0.9 acres more or less. And Township Road 26-2, lying between the southeast quarter of 11-26-23 west of the 4th and the northwest quarter of 12-26-23 west of the 4th, and the southwest of 13-26-23 west of 4, containing 1 acre more or less. And Township Road 26-3A, lying between the northeast quarter of 20-26-22 west of 4 and the southeast quarter of 29-26-24 west of 4, containing 1.31 acres more or less, based on the information as presented in this report.
Just a small amendment, if you would consider adding from unallocated surplus following the $59,300.
Yeah. I had that written down. Where did I write that? From it's allocated surplus.
Unallocated, yeah.
Or from a surplus of unallocated.
Yep, perfect.
Or unallocated surplus funds, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think I already shredded that one.
Yeah.
Any questions or discussion regarding the motion? All in favor? Motion is carried.
I'll move that council direct the Reeve and Deputy Reeve to sign the 2021 annual performance evaluation of the Chief Administrative Officer in accordance to Section 205.1 for the Municipal Government Act, and that a copy of the performance evaluation be placed in the Chief Administrative Officer's employment file.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried.
I'll make the motion that council change the terms and conditions of employment as discussed and the updated term be placed in the Chief Administrative Officer's employment file. Further, that council amend the Chief Administrative Officer's salary to $235,000 retroactive to January 14th, 2022.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. I believe that brings us to the conclusion of our agenda. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you.